What's up, everybody? You didn't think I was going to start on time, did you? Didn't think your boy was going to start on time, did you? Oh, man. In a minute, I'm going to try to be more consistent, I guess, but duty follows. I mean, hey, help your boy get to 10,000. Like, share, subscribe, and if you feel inclined, donate to the Cash App. I like to start this post off. I notice everybody's been talking John Walker's stronger and better than Steve Rogers. I like to remind people this, right? What other characters could have handled the Winter Soldier? We're not talking about Bucky Barnes. What other characters could handle in the MCU the Winter Soldier? Remember, I like to put this out there since we're going to start nerdy first, then get into other stuff. Tell me what other characters could handle the Winter Soldier, that persona. Okay? Tell me, first and foremost, I like John Walker. I like U.S. Agent, both the MCU and the character in the comics. When does that guy fight Spider Man? The same Spider Man who has super strength and embarrassed Bucky and the Falcon by himself. Tell me, what did Iron Man say to Spider Man when he was bragging about fighting Captain America? Iron Man told him to his face, if Cap wanted to put you down, he'd have put you down. This is the same Cap who fought Ultron and pierced him with his shield. This is the same Cap who embarrassed Tony Stark in his armor. Okay? Same Cap, highly trained Hydra slash Shield agents in an elevator. Okay? Skill wise, I don't think John Walker. And let me put it to you this way. I didn't mind John Walker killing anybody because he's a soldier. What made it look bad is that he killed an unarmed combatant. Because if he was armed, nobody would have blinked an eye. But they killed his boy, and he had to get some payback. But you're talking about a guy who's fighting some of the biggest, baddest motherfuckers in the MCU to date. And held his own. The only person he didn't even fare well. Even Thanos looked at this motherfucker and was like, what the fuck? The fuck kind of shit is he on? So when he's fighting the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and people say, well, Falcon is just an ordinary man. No, the Falcon's not an ordinary man. The Falcon's a PJ. Hey, Destro, do me a favor. Can you put in the chat what type of training a PJ has to go through? They literally call their school Superman School. Okay? Can you put the length of time and what type of training a PJ has to go through? If you're a PJ, you're not an ordinary human being. And the Falcon is a goddamn PJ. Put it to you this way. Wait, the combatant is a super soldier, sir. Just one of them killed Lamar with one punch. The flag smasher also began harming civilians and after bombing a big building. That see, let me put it to you this way: if I'm a cop and I have somebody on the ground unarmed, and I put a bullet in his head, how is the world going to react to that? And you're right. They're special forces of the Air Force. Here's another question. How long is their school? I know we get all hooked up on Green Berets and Navy SEALs, but did you know the PJs have the longest schooling for any special forces group in the United States military, which is 2 years? Did you know every PJ is a nationally recognized paramedic? Their schooling is 2 years. 2 years. So when I hear this shit about ordinary man, ain't no PJ living, past, present, or future, is an ordinary motherfucker. Then fighting a motherfucker with a metal arm. When we forget a Civil War, Spider Man caught his fist and looked at it and said, "Hey, that's cool." And remember, Captain America by himself was taking it easy on Spider Man. Thank you. Pipeline 2 years. So when we look at Steve Rogers is probably the most skilled martial artist in the MCU. The next person is probably going to be Black Panther, who's on his level and maybe slightly below. And the only reason I would put him at 1B is probably because he hasn't been on the certain missions that Steve has been, which is going to garner him more experience, even if he is stronger. But once again, we'll be looking at movies and things of that nature, just like an anime or a comic book, you're usually going to up the ante when it comes to characters. So we got to be, people never mention that he went toe to toe with Spider Man and was taking it easy. So put some respect on Cap's name. Now, we're going to get the nerdy shit out real quick. See, we're gonna look at that for a second. Steve Rogers was so advanced in fighting techniques, speed, strength, agility, intelligence, tactical prowess that the Iron Man suit couldn't even keep up. The computer couldn't even keep up. And you got to remember, Steve has something that John Walker never had, was control. If he wanted to kill Iron Man in Civil War, he would have. Okay? If he wanted to do such, he would have. I haven't seen him fight Iron Man level guys. I haven't seen him fight Spider Man level guys, with the exception of the Sentry. In the Sentry, 99% of people in the MCU today will fall. So that's a given. And if this cap is, which this Captain America is based on the Ultimate Captain America, obviously, well, he held up the armored truck, which weighs more than the helicopter. Duh. But it's not just about the weight, it's the force. When you're bicep curling 3,000 pounds in midair and keeping it from lifting off, that's impressive. Because remember, he's not just holding something weight, he's going not only against the weight of the helicopter, he's also going against the torque force that it's lifting off with. So I just like to put that to rest for a bunch of people who have this thing called recency bias. Even one of the Padawans, now Jedi Knights, had to admit he wished that he was born where he could see Michael Jordan play live, even though he's a LeBron fan. And I said context matters, because you got to think Mike was battling a different league, okay? Oh, he doesn't lack it, not one bit. He doesn't lack the ruthlessness. And this is how I can prove it. To the day, this day, the greatest movie the MCU ever produced for a single character to this day is The Winter Soldier. And I want you to realize this. Was Captain America ruthless when he went on that ship? Because he killed motherfuckers in that scene. Let's not get that mistaken. Let's not get that mistaken. He stabbed people with knives in their hands. He kicked people off that damn boat. And that dude either was dead from the impact of his boot hitting his chest, or him hitting the side of that boat, or drowning. So he was ruthless as fuck and very pragmatic. Okay? He didn't lack it. Remember, this Captain America in the first Avenger had his shield in a 1911 busted on fools. But I'm also gonna take and shout out to Angry Man, because his shorts be killing me. And I was listening to one about 10, 15 minutes ago where this lady was talking about yeah, I'm gonna tell you why. A lot of people can't make PJs, man. PJ is a tough hustle. So when people talk about Falcon being an ordinary man, no fucking way. If you know what a PJ is, there is no fucking way a PJ is an ordinary human being. That's like saying Navy SEALs are ordinary human beings. And PJs rescue Green Berets and Navy SEAls. I need y'all to go to General Discharge and look up the pararescue and go look at their training. The training alone is insane. And then you have to go into the field where you're doing search and rescues. And sometimes you got to drag that person in a gurney while you're climbing up half a fucking hill or a mountain. That's not ordinary people shit. So I like to tell a lot of those Johnny come lately wannabe comic book fans, dismiss me with that bullshit. Now, Did they give John Walker some buffs? Yeah. Could he beat Steve Rogers? Fuck no. Steve would pick him apart. And when they said, well, he got a more refined version of the serum, no, 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 no. No, no, hell, no. Steve Rogers got the most potent version of the super soldier serum ever. He's got the original batch. As a matter of fact, he got about anywhere from 6 to 8 shots with the shit. So the shit is so potent in his system that it just makes him even better. Then on top of that, everybody else's version, and even when you look at the Flag Smashers, everybody else's version of his is not the perfected version. The Sentry might have got a stronger dose, but it's not the perfected version. Notice he never went insane. He never had any fucking clips of madness or nothing like that. He literally got the perfect version. In order to make the Hulk, you had the super soldier serum with fucking gamma rays. And last time I checked, yeah, it might have made him stronger, but it's not a perfected version. You telling me that you would rather be the Hulk and not have control of your shit? Come on now. But I'm gonna go back into the thing about the Angry Man thing that I watched, which was funny but truthful. And I've said this for years, by the way. When the woman says maybe it was meant for black women to be the leaders and black men to be the protectors and use their muscles to build stuff, and she thought an Angry Man says the same thing I said. This is the reason why women are not meant to lead. I never said they don't have leadership qualities, but they're not meant to lead. And this is why. Look at the community that's called the Black Society. Does it look like it's been led to the promised land? No. You allowed all these foreign entities to come into our society and bastardized our families. You bought into feminism. You took away jobs from your men. You took away the education for your boys. You taught your daughters how to be so insufferable. No man on earth finds her attractive, but black men in particular. They have to be failed white women to even get looks. To even get looks from other races of men. And for the majority part, they're looked at as concubines. Easy. I was in the military. How many of these white boys talk about black chicks get the best head? Black chicks like to fuck you. But yet they're doing that for lesser men. They don't have to be in shape. They don't have to have swag. All they have to do is be another race. But yet, this chick bragged about maybe it was meant for us to be the leaders. I'm convinced to put this hypothesis out there. If you want something to fail, put a modern black woman in front of it, and it will. I think if I was a black woman, right, and when Ketanji Harris sat in front of that Senate committee and couldn't tell you what a woman was, being a woman herself, that's insulting. This is the best you can produce? You have a Juris Doctorate, and you're a sitting member of the Supreme Court, and you're so left that you can't even honestly say what a woman was and you're an actual woman, that's leadership. 8% of your sons can read on grade level when they get to the eighth grade. You can't keep a man past 5 years on average. But I know people are going to say, well, you're being misogynistic. Am I being misogynistic or truthful? Because once you start throwing that word around, you're usually trying to use that to shut people up. I want you to think about that. A leader is supposed to be decisive. A leader is supposed to be truthful and inspiring. Do I see that in my community? And you're right, Bay. To the Democratic Negroes, yes, because white lesbian feminists tell them what to do. Exactamundo. You think I could get away with saying, I don't know what a man is? I would lose all total respect for my peers, my brothers, my mentees, and my superiors. Let's take a very close look. And I'll give you an example. Last Wednesday, I went to a cigar lounge, to have a few smokes after work. And it was this army captain who was there. He's Puerto Rican, but, he's as dark as me. Grew up on a farm, poor. Started out as enlisted, graduated college, and became an officer. Even he agreed with me when he became an officer. He had to stop thinking as a soldier and he had to think as a commander. All my prior or current military people, is there a difference of thinking as a commander or as a soldier? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna give you a minute or two in the chat to correct me if I'm wrong. There's a difference in thinking and mentality, folks. I had to learn that when I started my security firm. I had to learn that when I was the acting lieutenant for the midnight shifts, when I went to a different jurisdiction. That being said, we had this lesbian light skinned chick who came into the conversation trying to speak womanese. Thank you, Namer. You may not be a part of the American military, but military nevertheless. If you think about it, me and Namer have a lot of parallels, even though we're from a whole ocean away, two different continents. But even Namer will tell you, even though he might be from a different society, that does not negate his blackness, which he puts honestly on front page. And this light skinned lesbian who's a barber was in the conversation as well. And she tried to ask us things. Why don't y'all teach boys that they don't always have to be hard? We don't always teach boys that we have to be hard, but we teach boys that not everybody is worthy of your tears or your emotions. Because, like I had to tell her, well, I come with a lot of masculine energy. I said, okay, cool. I said, you know the difference between you and I? Here's the big difference. When you're in trouble, you can revert back to being a woman. Very feminine. And yes, she was slightly inebriated or a little bit past slightly inebriated. And this is what I try to tell her. You can revert back to being a woman. You can revert back to being defenseless, and men will come to your aid. I can't do that. Name her. Is she a black American woman, regardless of sexuality? Yes. Yes, she did. And this is the part where a lot of these women don't understand. When it comes to being in the world or the wilderness, as the Bible put it, which was one of the oldest rites of passage throughout time immemorial, that a boy had to go out there into the wilderness, and the best he had to do was get what? A sharp stick. Maybe a spear, maybe a knife. Maybe he had to fashion a knife out of whatever materials he had. Oh, trust me, it gets better with this story. It gets better. What's up, Andre? LAPD SWAT, AL Evans, Bay. Who else we got? Distro, Blood Boiling, Moving Silence, Namer. Hey, we got 22 people here. I only see like what, 5 to 7 names. Come on, let me know you're in the building. Don't be shy. Even if you disagree with me, I'm a fair dude. You can get on the panel and disagree with me, and we can have a one-on-one discord. I told her, no matter what you say, you don't know how it feels when the perception and the perspective of a man is different. When we see weakness in a woman, we want to help it. We want to rescue. We want to come to the aid. When we see weakness in men, we typically, as human beings, want to destroy it because that's unbecoming of a man. We have to stay disciplined. I'm the same guy. What's up, Otis? ABM? Jesse? Sir Jesse? Even though once in a while I got to do Jesse? But that's Sir Jesse, to those who don't know. We want to destroy it. You know why? Because men have this innate thing about weakness. We want to eviscerate it because we don't want that weakness to infect the rest of the goddamn men. Oh yeah, ain't nobody came here to see you, Otis. And this is what you don't understand. You come from a place of privilege and help. And by the way, for some reason, she had her girlfriend in the lounge too, and she was in the back. But because I'm sitting on the stool, and you know how men sit, we sit with our legs open. And for some reason, she was touchy feely and moving into the in between my legs. I don't. If I really wanted to try, I probably could have got her number and probably would have had her over my house tonight. I'm just that damn good. Woo! But the point is, you can revert back to a place that you're going to be taken care of. And anybody who's been in the military, both foreign or domestic, will tell you you're only as strong as as the weakest personnel that you have. That's why during basic training, during any type of training, well, if it's special operations, medical, or whatever, we can only hump those packs as close as it's the slowest motherfucker on the team. Last night was the first time I officially watched American Sniper, you know, the Chris Kyle story. And I was looking at the QRF and all that stuff. So if anybody want to know what I did in Iraq, The QRF were the guys who rescued Chris Kyle and his boys. That's the shit that I was doing. I was rescuing guys in special operations, Marines. It doesn't mean they were weak because guess what? We needed them to do their super jobs and we supported them by giving them rescue and refuge. When they were pinned down, we went into the most dangerous motherfucking places and we laid down whatever cover fire. We came in there, guns blazing, teeth baring, claws presented to get our boys out. Okay? So we couldn't afford to be weak. That's why you have a lot of those lesbians who, once they get tired of taking care of women, they want to go back to the strongest men they know. See, why is it that a guy like myself can talk to Ron Wills and cousin T-Taw, and I'm pretty sure a few of my subscribers as well, who've been around the block, especially when it came to being worldly and dealing with women, I'm not lost. When cousin T-Taw came to Fire and Smoke in Baltimore County, it wasn't me picking his brain or him picking my brain. It was fellowship. We were trading stories. And trust me, blood boiling, I appreciate that and it humbles me. I'm just a man doing my part. I'm just a cog in the wheel. You give me a mission, I'll do it. I'm never gonna ask another man or woman to do what I can't do, what I would not willing to do or haven't done before. There's some shit I'm not gonna do again, but if you're the newbie in the organization, you're gonna do it. You gotta earn your stripes. G.I. Joe was there. G.I. Joe. But we'll get into that in a minute, babe, because that's been on my mind as well. Cobra. Cobra. But here's the crazy part. And there's a reason why there's a rite of passage in the military, like basic training. You have KP duty, you have sandbag duty, you have certain duties where, guess what? Everybody who been through that service had to be the lowest on the fucking totem pole and had to do this job. Why? Because when it humbled you and it made you realize everybody had a job to do, you respected it and you did it. And you shut the fuck up about it. Okay? I did not have even when I started wrestling, my coach threw me to the wolves. It wasn't just my coach who taught me wrestling, it was the senior people above me. I've given Corey Dawson all the credit in the fucking world. And he was a 260-pound heavy. He was so big that he had to cut weight to make his heavyweight at 285. He had to cut weight from football to make wrestling. Why was my shot so good? Because I learned how to do an outside single and inside single from a 260, 270-pound heavyweight. If I could take him down, what is a motherfucker at 160, 170 gonna do to me? See, this is the part that black women do not understand when they talk about leadership and power. You have to be humble. You have to be humble. You have to respect the power that you possess. You look at degrees and positions as the destination. Men look at it as the continuing journey. Okay? Are y'all tracking? You picking up what I'm putting down? Do we need to go count them ranger beads while we doing this road march? I had to tell her, no matter what you say, even if you have a son, I don't know if the son was by a woman or was it, or she gave birth to the son. Was it by another woman or she gave birth? Well, I have my son. There's nothing masculine you can teach your son. Okay? The reason why modern men suck today is because you're around women too goddamn much and you look for validation through their eyes and not through your own and not through elder men. Because when I was running the security team at BlurCon, I had to ask this question. Did what I say was clear and concise? Was it clear and direct objectives we need to meet? Shout out to my second in commands. The first year was my boy Darren. The second year was my man Brett. Brett ran the operation. I ran the administrative. I had to make sure you had your lodging, your beds, your rooms. I had to make sure you got your money. I had to make sure you got your food. I had to take on shit that while even when they questioned me, and I said, I'm gonna humor you all as the boss man, or as I call it, the commander. And I had to tell you, what would you do if you came up to somebody who said they were sexually assaulted in this crowd of 12,000 people? Do you know how to handle, do you know the protocols of having a safe, of taking her and telling her she has the option of going to the hospital, the emergency room, and getting a safe nurse to do a forensic swab where she has to get all these antibiotics and all these other medications to kill whatever STD she may have, even up to HIV? All right, how many reports have you written? Where were you when I had to do all this shit? It's like the story of Job, when Job was complaining to God Almighty, and he said, "Where you got problems? I know. Well, where were you when I was separating the sky from the firmament, the land from the firmament? Where were you when I was changing the night into day? You want to talk about problems? Let me talk to you about mine. Did you have to go handle escorting the guy out who might have had a sexual assault issue with a female who felt threatened? And this guy was every bit of 6'4", 350 pounds? Did you have to escort him out? And he was cosplaying as Fat Thor, and the hammer that he had was actually a very heavy, weaponized version of that. It wasn't the plastic ones you usually see at the cons. What would you would have done? Some of you would have pulled your weapon. There's times my second in command did the talking, and I'm circling around to find weak points. And trust me, my man Brett is very good at finding those weak points too. We were willing to do some dirty shit to get that big motherfucker out of there. And he even had the audacity to call the police. And we spoke to the police and we told them our backgrounds. And the police was like, "Oh, really? You didn't tell us all this?" There's a reason why you have a command. You have a pecking order because men understand and respect hierarchy. Women think that everybody should have equity and equality. There's no equality in manhood. My son may be going into his prime. I may be leaving mine, but I'm still capable. That's why I always say a father's job is to keep in shape, to keep his sons and his mentees humble. Because if I whip your ass, it's out of love. Anybody else do it, it's out of spite. ABM said, "Why is a stud in men's business anyway? Maybe lesbians should stay in their own lane." I'll answer that very quick, very honestly. I like to go back to my man, Prince Adam. Everybody wants to power the universe, but not everybody can handle it. What was the most amazing thing about Prince Adam that even the Netflix series quoted? Anybody want to guess? Do you want me to answer that? Give me a woo in the chat if you really want me to answer that in the most esoteric way, the most black pill esoteric way. And if anybody feels inclined and you can't see the ticker, here's the cash app, my friends. I do believe in reciprocity, and I do believe in anybody having intellectual property they should get compensated for. Hit the like button if you don't have any money, because we all know times are tough. But if you feel like donating and you want a person to get motivated to do more, there's very few motivators that's even greater than cash. I'm going to answer you why that most people don't get Adam. Adam, when he became He Man, invoked the power of not only his ancestors, but the power of the unknown universe. That's why he was called the most powerful man in the universe. But what made Adam special was that he always, after he got the job done, he would say these words, let the power return. Somebody put that in the chat, please, because that's something that men understand completely. Let the power return. Men always have to pay it full. Why? Because we know as men, when we gain knowledge, it's our job to return it back to the universe, especially after we've reached our heights with it. You let the power return. And when you took men out the equation in the black community, what happened to that power? It became bastardized. It became polluted. Are y'all tracking? Y'all following? Do we need to restart the do we need to restart this shit? I may not be BGS, I may not be Art New Style, I may not be Dr. T, I may not be Dr. Neil, Dr. Dunbar, I may not even be AV Media. But I got some shit for you if you're willing to learn. And that's the point, Namer. Namer stated he understood that the power wasn't his for keeping, but to be used when needed. That's the ultimate journey of men that woman in that cigar lounge did not understand. We don't have an option of failure. I had to tell and shout out to Cam, who graduated today from high school. It was a struggle, but we got his ass out there. This is, and trust me, that's number, I can't even count how many young men I've helped who are not even my biological children across the fucking stage. But men don't lead. The reason why you stayed at that prestigious Catholic school is because I sat in that parent teacher conference when your mom was working and she was in the car because she had to work far from you. And I said, I'll go. And she was on the computer and I sat there and there were three other men. And the reason why they told you to stay is because you had a black man strong enough to be in your corner to speak up for you. Before God and grace goes before I. Before God and grace goes before I. The power had to return. When people spoke up for me, when Charles did his fuck ups, I had to pay it full. When my son had parent teacher conference, guess who stayed there? Usually his mother would go, But because of her job, there's sometimes she can't get off of it. So when I have free time, I'm there. You don't understand what it feels to wake up in the morning with a hard dick. You don't understand how it feels in the morning to wake up with rage because of all this testosterone building up in your body. You don't understand how it feels to be looked at in the world as a threat. I don't know how many black women were lynched in trees. I don't know how many black women that were accosted on trumped up bullshit false charges. But I can tell you, we could pretty much sum up how many black men were. You have an option to be weak. I have no option to be weak. So when you talk about leadership, to be a great leader, you must be what first, fellas and ladies? You must be a great subordinate first. You must humble yourself and say, I need to learn under greatness. I need to learn under greatness. One of my favorite songs of all time is Every Generation by Ronnie Laws. And it states, have you ever looked in the face of age? Now lend your ear to what an old man has to say. Because every generation of us lie. Okay? Namer said the only time a woman can compare a man's perspective is when it's her father, brother, or the man she's involved with. That's the last one, especially. Nope, 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 nope. And you know, normally you're my brother from another mother, but I got to disagree with you. The only time a woman can even fathom, can even small infractions see a man's perspective is when it's her son. Because she doesn't give a fuck if her father has to pay child support. She doesn't have to give a fuck if her brother or her man pays child support or goes through the rigmarole of the criminal justice system. She starts to see the reality when it's her baby, her boy, what came out of her loins. But yet, how many mothers out there teach their sons about the manipulation tactics of women? But y'all don't hear me though. Y'all don't hear me though. If the women actually understood that, do you think they would try their best to pick great fathers for that kid? Do you think they would try their best to put masculine men hovering around that boy? There's a newfound respect, my partner where I'm working now, where she has a 7 or 8 year old boy, and I put her on with Miseducation of the Negro, the boy crisis, the man not, the rise and destruction of the black civilization. Oh well, I'll definitely put it up there in a few minutes. But you know me, I just got to get my soliloquy off before I let anybody up. See, women don't give a fuck until it's their child. When it's your son who has to face the evils of the world. No, no, no. She didn't throw them away. She downloaded them motherfuckers on Audible, right in front of me. She downloaded those books. See, the problem is with a lot of men, I'm one of those. That's why me and Bay gravitate to each other so well, is because we have the same personality. We're very well respected men. We're very learned men because we came under a very pro black lens. We came under a very How can I be ashamed of me being black when blackness is actually greatness? See, this this bastardization of blackness you see in this bullshit version of hip hop, when even hip hop was super conscious, not woke, but super conscious. And see, this is the problem. I don't argue with women with their feelings. I argue with the factual actual. And it's like the former Padawan Jedi Knight, because I'm still in my truck in front of my house smoking a cigar, having a couple of sips, because I had to stay for 2 hours extra overtime. So you guys should be appreciative that you're a part of my cool down moment. I had to tell people. ABM said a woman will tell her son to never put up with behavior that they watch mommy do. I will never tell that. Exactly. They will never say that shit until it's too late. Because all black men will get is that you should have picked better. But when you tell them they should have picked better fathers, I gotta be the victim. I gotta be the victim. That's the truly insulting part about being a man. That you're supposed to sweat. When I started telling chicks, if you want to come see me, come by the water by the harbor, by Under Armour. For all you Baltimoreans, you know where it is. Come to the cigar lounge. Come where I'm comfortable and you're not. It weeds out a lot of females, and thank God it does. And the ones who are still interested and want to stay, they'll stay. What did the genie say to Aladdin? You ain't never had a friend like me. You ain't never had a friend like me. All my exes will tell you that. For all these naysayers, you hate women. I said, here's my exes on Facebook. Go ask them if I hate women. And what will they tell you? Charles is a pure gentleman. He's just not going to take your shit off of you. He's expecting your best. Why? Because he's going to give us his best. Even if he tried his damnedest and come up short, he gave us our best. His best. This is the part where black men need to have some audacity to have those tough conversations. And when I start telling her this shit, she was like, of course, she tried to do the traditional black woman, try to overtalk or long explain, as I call it. Want to take a whole fucking, damn near a whole fucking 5, 10 minutes and not let anybody else in. And me and the captain told her, there's nothing you can say to two men who had to protect people, regardless of political ideology, regardless of religion, regardless of where we live, regardless of location. Like the old Fletcher cartoons, this looks like a job for Superman. Sometimes you could revert that sentence into, I'm the Superman who has a job to do. You notice how you can revert that same sentence into in backwards, and sometimes it becomes even more powerful. I'm the Superman with a job to do. You know why it changes when I revert it or inverted it? It's because guess what? Who helps Superman when he's weak? Well, you got to be vulnerable with your girl. Can I? Because even your woman, when you show too much weakness, what happens? She'll use that against you. Tell me if I'm not lying. See, us men who are in our 40s and 50s are not old men, but we're older men. We know how women, hell, if you're 35, you should know female behavior. This is the reason why, as much as I love BGS, I have to admit something. The most painful live streams he does are his AMAs. Ask me anything. Because you have, it's not on BGS. No, 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 no. It's the guys asking him shit they should know past 35 years old, especially when it comes to women. I get it if you ask about geopolitics. I get that. But when you're talking about women and you're 35, my nigga, where the fuck you been under a rock? What's the point of having a master's degree in technology or a PhD when you can't conduct yourself in the real fucking world? You're just a lick. You're a tool on a carpenter's belt just waiting to get used. We need to have some fucking audacity and be able to have hard conversations and how you go about them. I don't have to keep, I could keep statistics. Some of y'all are my Facebook friends, Twitter friends. And there's stuff that I'll put up there. Women be like, well, we're the most educated. No, you're not. Asian women are. And by volume, white women are. You're the most enrolled. You're the most in debt. You're the most foreclosed. If you're so educated, how is it that in 2 months, 3,000 plus of you are losing jobs, but black men gain 150,000 jobs? You keep thinking that you outrank your man, and you're right, Brian James, the most arrogant. And what is arrogant? An overflated ego, an overestimation of your abilities. It's not just a feeling. When I was explaining ego and confidence to the Jedi Knight, and I told him it's not just a feeling, it's a state of being. I am confident in my abilities because they were tested. If I study and put in the hard work, that builds confidence. When I put in no work and think I'm the best, that's arrogance. Think about it. What's that one dude who said we should be we should be responsible for dudes who do bad behavior to women? Last time I checked, you're saying the equivalent that black women should be responsible for women who take their children away from their fathers and unjustifiably put them on child support, bring up charges of abuse when there was none. You're the same niggas who will say Cassie is a victim. And I said this last night on AB's channel. This is how you know Cassie does not suffer from Stockholm syndrome. Because, first of all, if we go back to the people in Stockholm, Sweden, who were captives by this group, they sympathize with their oppressors. If Cassie had Stockholm syndrome, she would not get $20 million or try to get it from Puffy because she would identify herself in the same role as him. That's how you know you can't use the excuse of Stockholm syndrome. I may not have finished college, but I am far from the dumbest nigga in this space. If anything, I am probably one of the most brilliant motherfuckers, if you spoke to me offline, that you will ever speak to. And I can say the same for Sandog, BGS, Bay, Lewis Collier, and many others who I speak to off these YouTube streets. I may not be his degree, and that's not knocking the guys who have degrees because they're brilliant in their own right as well. But don't think that old Charles is one of these dumb niggas just spewing shit. When I've taken tests in the military, they always ask the same question. Damn, how many degrees do you hold? I didn't finish college. This says you have the equivalent of a graduate degree or higher in your comprehension skills. Reading is fundamental in my household. We had taskmasters as parents. I am not your friend. I gotta love you even when you fuck up. But you're gonna get that shit done. Even my godson had to learn this. You gotta rewrite your goddamn term paper or you won't graduate. You think you slick plagiarizing some shit? You lucky they didn't expel you. You lucky they giving you this chance to write it. And he and his mother made him sit down and rewrite that bitch to the best of his ability. And now look at him. Today he graduated. And I told him, you could have prevented this shit a long time ago. I hope this is a life lesson you hold dear. Because many of the jobs I had, you can only get one time to do it right. Because depending on your job, people's lives are at stake. Yeah, you're right. It's snitched. The greatest snitch ever is not a nigga in prison, it's Chat GPT. See, that thing called penis envy is a heavyweight motherfucker. You're a lesbian who wants to be in the realm of masculine men. You have your girl there, but you're moving closer to me. And you lucky I was on some chill shit and not trying to beat your fucking guts in shit. Even though I should save this statement for Patreon, do you know how many chicks who were lesbians who hit me up on their jobs, who took their girlfriends home and told me they want to feel like a woman? I'm like my man Phil. I'm like my man, like on Reading Rainbow. She ain't gotta take my word for it. I'm looking at her like you're a chick to me. I don't go telling you how it feels to have a period. Why are you telling me how it feels to be a man? You have not one time been looking at it as a threat. I am God on earth compared to you. Even when despised, even when taken for granted, I'm still supposed to fucking produce. What consequence are you to me now? And even she was baffled. How many chicks are trying to take you to court? Just like people talk about when DDG said it's not men leaving the home. It's the women keeping the kids away from the father. And there's one chick, well, men need to stop making these excuses. I said, let me ask you this question, Shorty. And this is on my Facebook for all my Facebook friends. I said, you missed what he was saying. He wasn't making excuses. Why is it that when men state facts, we're making an excuse, but you can't raise proper children, you always blame it on the father? So wait a minute. We're going to blame the nigga who wasn't there at all versus the person who was there 99% of the time. That's the options y'all get to have. But they'll never say that to a father, will they? You go in front of that white man's court and you say, I can't take care of these kids. You get child support, child custody, education, housing, all this shit, transportation, food stamps. But for a man, he gets threatened with what? Jail time and no help if he's poor. Make sure y'all get those likes up. I may be shadow man, but we still make shit work in this place. So dismiss me on your struggles when you're the one benefiting off of my demise. I'm going to say it again, and people, please put this in the chat. Dismiss me with your struggles when you benefit off of my demise. And before I start letting people up here, this is the one thing I want fellas to do. Stop listening to these so-called highly educated, unattractive chicks who's going to blame men because they're too fat and too ugly because they can't get a man in their bracket. That's your fault, not mine. Fuck you. Don't forget to support the Cash App if you like. Don't forget to support the stream with a like. Share this motherfucker. Because I'm tired. I'm tired of people coming in our spaces challenging what I want to do. Have you noticed when I first was live streaming, I could get motherfuckers all the time to challenge me. Now nobody comes because I made examples of people. We are joined by Bay and Namer. How y'all doing, folks?
I'm doing good. I'm doing amazing right now. Like the
What's up?
American dream, Dusty Rose, baby. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night to everyone.
What's up,
Sometimes you gotta hit a mother. What's up?
What's
Do
up,
y'all have
man?
any objections or agreements to what I was saying?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts to what I said earlier about women understanding men's perspective regarding their sons. Let's not forget one thing about their sons. They don't see it like I said before. They don't look at their children as an individual, but rather an extension of themselves. But not like the same way a father does. Mothers look at the child since it came out of their womb, an out of body experiences. They look at that child as like an appendage of sorts. So the way they see it, anything that affects the child directly affects them. That's the thing we have to understand about that child. Fathers, however, they understand like a child is going to grow up to become an adult and move on. You know, but
Yep.
father's love for a child is not. I mean, mother's love for a child is not the same as a father's love, because fathers understand I got responsibilities. I need to prepare that child for adulthood, especially if it's a boy, because that boy is going to carry on your legacy. He's going to create his own legacy, but he carries yours as well. Because at the end of the day, that's all you got. As he's
There's a
carrying
re-
also the legacies of men before him.
why do
What?
men name children their sons after them? Name or Bay. Either one of y'all can answer that, or both.
What does it some rappers say? Through my firstborn, I'm reborn. Through my children, I'm reborn and I live on.
What do you think was my father's response when I named my son Charles Lawrence Faulkner III? What do you think he did?
He
Probably
was
elated.
overjoyed.
He chuckled.
And why did he chuckle?
He chuckled because he felt like he's going to live longer. He chuckled because he felt like he's going to live longer.
You know he's going to live a whole lot longer if Peanut has a son and names him Charles IV.
Think about that. Why is it that Charles, King of England, is Charles III?
Because you've already had two Charles before.
And guess what that third means? I'm continuing the legacy of the ones before me, and I'm doing my own.
And they were members of course, the current dynasty in England is a different dynasty, isn't it?
Well, it's the same dynasty from William the Conqueror. See,
Just a different branch.
well, it's the Windsor. It's the Windsor. I forget the other name. Is part of hash. It's hyphenated with, but it's
Because
the Windsor.
yeah,
It's the
They
House of
used to
Windsor.
be very incestuous, but they
Yeah.
had to start bringing in women from the outside.
See, I'm gonna go back to it. What's the way can a queen create a king?
by giving birth to one.
The only way she could.
That's the only way she could, because the husband she marries, she cannot. It's like Patrice O'Neal said. When a man is a king, he can elevate a woman to her highest position, to queen.
How does
But
a
when a woman
man
is
make a
queen,
king?
she could not elevate him to become king. Only way he could do that is if he marries her and then afterwards, overthrows her and becomes a king himself. But some men, just like what you said about, I live on, certain men realize if you marry into a family, your children become part of that legacy and you live on through them in a sense.
What did Bardock say when he was being incinerated by Frieza's spear? When he saw the spaceship of his son going out there, I will what? Live on. What was
I'll give you another
Jarrell?
one.
What was
I'll give you another.
Jarrell saying to
Okay.
Kal-El? What was Jarrell saying to Kal-El? You're the greatest of our legacy. You know why? Because you have the freedom to do what you want. That's why a lot of you niggas need to go look at Man of Steel, which is one of the greatest masterpieces in cinematic history, especially from a superhero movie. Of course, I will always say that The Dark Knight is probably one of the greatest movies cinematically of any genre. But that was the movie that talked about manhood. He was this product of two worlds, but fitted neither. So guess what he had to learn? To make his own way.
I'll give you one. You remember the movie John Q with Denzel Washington?
Mm-hmm.
You remember what he shouted to the negotiators when he was at that door, outside at the door of the clinic? At the entrance of the clinic, he yelled to them, I'm not going home to bury my son. My son's going to live, and my son is going to bury me.
Mm-hmm. Are you telling me he didn't get an Oscar for that? He didn't get an Oscar for Malcolm X, but I
He took
digress.
a what you know what secured him getting an Oscar?
Being a crooked cop.
No, Ethan Hawke. Well, yeah, but that one particular scene in that movie. Ethan Hawke shooting him in the ass when he tried to reach for the ratchet, which unfortunately, I don't know. I feel bad about it, but no, actually, I shouldn't be bad. I shouldn't feel bad about it. It's just, I know that's my favorite scene. Every time I see it, I just keep laughing my ass off.
But
By the way,
what's up?
what's up, y'all?
It
What's
was
up?
good.
Hey, but look, going back to John Q,
Mm-hmm.
he only did that because his fucking wife got on him, leaned on him. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that shit.
Told
But
him
then
to
again,
do
when you look at
something.
it, it was a compelling script. When you think about it, the story especially.
No, the story was top notch,
Yeah.
but it's just you tell a man to do something, a man gonna go do something.
Especially if you convince him why. Especially if she can because remember, here's the thing we have to forget. Like, what is a queen's position in a king for a king? She is, first of all, besides this bearing his, besides giving birth to his heirs.
The strongest offspring they can produce.
Yeah. Besides
To
that,
be
she is.
the great advisor, and
Yes.
a woman's just
I'm sorry. Go
it,
ahead.
and to be. This is the rule of thumb when it comes to a relationship of a man or woman, and I'm gonna give the floor to Beck.
Okay.
A man gives a woman purpose. You have no purpose as a mother unless I drop my seed in you.
Yeah.
You have no purpose as a wife unless I marry you. But let's juxtapose that. That woman is supposed to inspire that man to do great things.
Yeah.
And we're going to give
Shout
the
out to
floor to
Teddy
Beck.
Pendergrass.
Go ahead, Beck.
You know, the way I see it, based on like some of the good relationships I've had, a woman can either put a battery in your back to go out and do some John Q stuff, or she can give you that comfort that you need after a cop put his cop gun up under your chin and you find yourself punching the air, mad at the world, and she gives you that loving hug to let you let it all out. Or when you walk up in there, you mad as hell, and you get the biscuit and you getting ready to head out the door, and she'll stop you. She'll stop you. You know what I'm saying? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, we hear you.
She'll stop you. I mean, they serve. Understand, a good woman serves. She serves her purpose. She plays her role just like a good man. Your woman acting crazy, because let's face it, they're emotional beings. Like, yo, come here, come on, baby, come on, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Let's go,
Mhm.
let's go. Just like, I mean, I put it to you like this: you got a good one when you out in the street and she gets catcalled and she ignores it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She ignores it. She doesn't exacerbate the situation by running her mouth. Like, I'll never forget, I was with my girl. We was downtown Columbus at night, like after 10 o'clock, doing a photo shoot. She was just in lingerie and a trench coat. All right. I got my tripod, which wasn't even metal, it was like plastic, and my camera, and we're walking back to the car down pretty much a near vacant street, heading to the car, and these two dudes, some rough black dudes, they whistling, hollering at her. She's like 5'10", she's sexy. And I tell her, I said, here, I give her the keys, I said, here, go start the car. Because it was, like, even though we were ignoring them, they was getting closer and they wouldn't stop. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it looked like it was about to be a confrontation. So I gave her the keys. I gave her the actual key to the car door. I'm like, here, go start the car. Like, get the hell up out of here. She, as soon as she took them keys, she took off running. I extended the tripod, clack, and turned around, ready to do battle. Turned out it was one of my homeboys that worked at the club. Well, we were parked. He let us in, and we wound up finishing the shoot in the club. But but the example is what I'm saying is she could have turned around and got indignant because they were saying some nasty stuff. You know what I'm saying? She could have got indignant. She could have stopped, whatever. But instead, she was like, "Come on, like, let's go." And I'm like, "Shit, like, here." That's when I gave her the keys. I'm like, "Here, just go." Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. It could have been a bad situation, but she didn't make it worse. She actually took direction. I've been in situations where they don't take direction. And you put me in a bad situation, but it's like, I'm not about to get into a bad situation because you don't know how to shut your goddamn mouth. Like, I just leave you. I've done that. I've just walked out. Like, I'm not sitting up here about to get into an argument with some dude or another chick who's with other people because you want to get indignant. I had a girl, some dude, we were on the bus, some dude behind her, he coughed. I guess he didn't cover his mouth and he coughed, and I guess he coughed in her neck. And he apologized. He was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry." One of them type of apologies. He was sincere. She mad as hell. "Ain't you gonna do something?" I'm looking at her like, "What you want me to do?" The dude apologize. She pissed. She wanted
Disaster averted.
huh?
Disaster averted.
Yeah, and she was like 7 years older than me. She's like 32. Want me to fight some dude?
Oh man, she was on some entitled shit, obviously.
Oh, she was on some other stuff. That was one almost had two of my kids. Thank God she didn't. But it's like, that's why it's you'll never find anybody that's perfect. You might find somebody that's perfect for you, but there's no such thing as a perfect person. You're gonna have your flaws or whatnot. But what do they say? A woman's test is a child and a man's test is a woman. If she's not trying to listen and
Nope. Oh, we can't let you say that once.
What?
This type of show, we can't let you say some fine shit like that.
Oh,
You gotta say
okay.
that again for the niggas in the
Repeat
back.
it, repeat
They
it.
not listening.
A
They
woman's
didn't listen to what she said. Say it.
A woman's test is a child and a man's test is a woman. If you can't get her to not obey, but contour to your ideology, as far as like keeping everything safe and in order and whatnot, then you need to find somebody that will. You need to find somebody that will. And I think what it is, we get so pent up. We're so overly visually stimulated that we got guys out here that think that these prostitute women, that they're the ones that you're trying to turn around to get to be housewives, like Travis Hunter. You're trying to get that chick to be a goody two shoes housewife that has a tuna casserole on the table and the kids are well mannered and all that stuff. Meanwhile, she got piercings and sleeves and and had an OnlyFans and all this stuff, but somehow you think she's gonna take the weave out her hair and be a natural Erykah Badu looking woman and love you simply on the strength of because you said so. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And white women are very passe. I'm so sick of black women always jumping to white women. Like, you do understand most brothers ain't even checking for white chicks no more. Like, this is not the 90s. You know what I'm saying? This ain't the early 2000s. This is 2025. There's a whole smorgasbord of women out here for black men to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
White women are like maybe third on the list out of what the 5 main.
Yeah, but it seems about
Go
right.
ahead.
Secondly, a lot of people from my generation, you know, shout out to Mr. Z, even though I don't, we don't talk, still my brother. No, I ain't gonna say anything foul, but put him on like this once when he broke down the whole thing of how Disney's influenced a lot of girls, it also affected a lot of boys into buying into the hopeless romantic stuff. Not to mention a lot of boys, like I mentioned earlier in the comments, a lot of boys were taught from a young age to seek female validation through the women in their lives, especially their mothers, who would just manipulate them emotionally. People forget how important fathers are in the development of a child, especially in the first 3 years. The way a father plays with his kids, how they roughhouse and whatnot, they teach him how to not seek that validation, how to find, validation within themselves. But that's if the father was learned from their fathers that same value. And as far as a lot of these women, some of these women, you get this sense of entitlement, like a man's supposed to do this, a real man's supposed to do that. I once said this. What woman should tell? No woman has the right to tell me what a real man is or how a man should be, unless she was a man herself. Unless you used to be a man, how would you know what it's like to be one? Do you know what it's like to have a Y chromosome? In fact, babe, let me give you something. I'm gonna tell you something. I have a homegirl. I got a good friend. She's lesbian. And she was shocked when I said this one thing. Would you like to know what I said?
Go ahead.
I told her, women cannot be cocky. And I made her see why. I just looked at her and said, the minute I said, women cannot be cocky, she said, what? And this is a white woman. I said, yes, women cannot be cocky.
Is she ugly?
Lesbian, married.
I didn't ask you.
Enough said. No, she was just an average looking person, country mouse. But yeah.
Were y'all friends before she was married?
Oh yeah, she was friends, She's always been. Huh?
You ever tap it?
No, she bats on the other side of the plate, is what I said.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you if you tapped it.
No, I never tapped it.
Okay, that's weird because maybe it's me. A lot of my quote unquote lesbian friends.
No, this one's straight up lesbian. But anyway, there's a
reason. Yeah.
I get. This is a white woman, first of all, dude. Okay, come on.
You say that like that means something, but never mind. Those of y'all that know, y'all know.
Baby, just being an a-hole right now.
No, I'm not. Those of y'all that know about lesbian chicks, if you be alone with them, they they trust you enough to where y'all are alone. Believe me, eventually the urge overtakes them.
I can be very charming and disarming. And that they can be confiding in me because I've proven I can be. They understand I can be trustworthy with certain things.
Those are the ones that jump you the fastest when you act like you don't want it.
I get that, Andre. But anyway, I explained to her.
Y'all know, but go on.
All right.
Sorry, I just had to mess with you, but.
See, I told you this is a man who has to mess with me all the time. You always got to mess with me.
They know. I bet you some. Hey, let's type a 1 in the comment section if y'all know what the hell I'm talking about.
To quote, you know what? I just realized something, man. About you, babe.
What?
You are the Shannon Sharp to my Deion Sanders. So I gotta look at you and go like, boy, I know you ain't no good. You ain't no good.
No,
You ain't no good.
Give me, you know what? I'd rather be the Sterling.
Oh, in that case, I bet I got, I can't mess with you like that, because Dion was admitting everything.
Standing running around here in lip gloss and stuff and carrying little purse dogs in his arm. I'm good.
Leave your brother out this now. Leave your brother.
Calling
Your brother too
yourself
big and strong and physical. But anyway.
questionable identities. I'm good.
Anyway. So I said to her, women can't be cocky. And when she said, what do you mean? I said, spell the word cocky. She figured when she was like, oh, right, the first 4 letters spell that because we don't have that. Not just that. You're 80% of the way there. That last letter, what's the last letter? Y. As in the Y chromosome, which means cockiness is a trait only found in the Y chromosome. So unless you're a trans or something like that, you wouldn't understand that perspective. In other words, lady, you owe your clit an apology. Find the lie in what I just said.
If they're not cocky, then what are they? Clitty?
They can be clitty.
Catty and Clitty. That's what they call it, cat.
Caddy, yeah. Caddy. There you go.
He on point though. Patrol's on point. He's on point about that.
I'm like this. I don't know if ABM wants to get in. ABM, you there?
He might be busy with something because he might be working,
Yeah, a lot
Electrician's
of times.
job is never done. Ask electrician 480.
Yeah, I said a lot of this goes back into what I call the lack of respect of men. I think I'm gonna start a series with that. That sounds good, doesn't it, folks? The lack of respect. You know what I had to respect? Because if you live in a Baltimore row home or even a single family home, Baltimore is one of the oldest cities in the United States. I don't care how good. What's up, Cosmic? He's saying what's up to y'all. I had to respect the role of the cat. What is the role of the cat in the house?
To keep the mice in check.
Or to keep them the fuck out of your house.
That too.
He was so good at his job, I didn't see mice anymore. And he's not even a year old yet. You got to understand something. He respects his role. You know why? He's smart. If I do my job, I don't have to go outside and forage for food or hunt. All I got to do is keep my senses sharp enough to keep pests out the house. I got it set. I'm a made man. How is it that a cat is smarter than the average black woman?
Instincts. They just go by their instincts. I mean, not that they're dumb animals, but instinct drives them.
Also, cats, because of their, the way they move about, they have a good sense of balance, good spatial awareness, depth perception.
Are cats social creatures?
Yeah, cats are pretty social. They're mostly solitary in nature, but they can be very social from time to time.
A cat looks at you with either two things. Well, three things. Prey, part of the pride, or danger. Makes sense, right?
Yeah. You ever see a cat whip a grown man's ass?
I've seen it. And people talk about 100 men versus gorilla. There's house cats that will fuck you up by themselves. I've seen cats fuck a pit bull up. House cats. Why? Because that survival instinct turn on. And see, modern women have fooled themselves and not turning their instincts on. A woman is supposed to respect you because she know instinctively that man can save my life. That man can save the life or prepare a better life for my children.
Some women also fail to realize that that very same man can put your head through a wall if you
Mm-hmm.
cross him or do something really disrespectful, especially
Mm-hmm.
if he has a screw loose. I remember one situation where when I was younger, when I was like 19, going on 20, I was just hanging out with my brother and a couple of friends, and one of the women with us, one of the girls with us, she's like no bigger than 5'2". I don't remember what I said, or maybe she thought I was directed at her. Some next thing I know, smack. Everybody looked and saw she just slapped me across the face. I took it, and then for some reason I just looked at her. Immediately my brother got up. One of my boys got up because they saw I was seeing red and they had to pull me away. In fact, they had to take me across the street. Eventually she had to apologize. She was compelled to apologize. Although I was not in the forgiving mood.
You had all right not to.
At that moment, yeah. I'm like, I didn't say anything disrespectful or anything like that. What the hell is she mad about?
Man, you must have some strong willpower to fight off a reflex like that.
6'3", I'm 6'3", I'm 19 years old. I was not in a good mood. I was
And you fall off your reflex?
No, because the slap came. She just, because when she hit me, I didn't move. I just like, they just heard the slap. Everybody just like, ooh. The minute I just looked at her, I'm like, I know this little heifer didn't just slap me. And immediately my brother, knowing me and how much I can just go from 0 to 60 just like that, he just got up and said, yo, no. So it's all right. It's cool. Come on. Let's go. One of my boys also had to accompany him. He's like, hey, Emily, come on. Let's go across the street. And keep in mind, this is in a downtown area, and where we were was like at the base of the steps leading to the cathedral, which is a popular hangout spot. So if I whooped her ass, it would have been ungodly right then and there. But just understanding that, like, you understood, you could have done, why'd you slap him? You understand he could have caved your head in. But I guess you didn't understand that later, but yeah. I was in no forgiving mood at the time, but you learned that, like, dude, you put your hands on it, there's going to be some problems, so just let it go.
You know what type of women put their hands on a man?
Those that think they're entitled to?
Yeah.
And those who've been protected from consequences?
Those who've been abused before,
very
and
few
those with a death wish.
Yeah, very few women who've actually, like, there are some women, they'll fight a dude, you know what I'm saying, because they grew up fighting their brothers.
Mm-hmm.
But your brother's not trying to knock your damn teeth down your throat.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying? But once they get a taste of like literally
aggression,
having a hospital visit, that it really calms that down. You understand? It really calms all of that down.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to them putting their hands on, like on a boyfriend, they'll do it. But like on a stranger out in the street, once they put their hands on a stranger in the street and he sent them to Loose Tooth City, yeah,
Mhm.
they'll think twice, 3 times even
Shit.
before they do it again. At least
I didn't talk to her for about a couple of weeks after that. I remember to keep my distance from her because I was still stewing about it. Because I knew if she can slap me once, she'll do it again.
And I don't think that
I'm
you would have
surprised
had
you
restraint
didn't.
the second time.
No,
Right.
I
That's
would
why
have
I'm
done something
surprised you
horrible.
didn't have your
Because keep in
reflex.
mind, I reached my full 6'3" by then.
Right.
I
That's
was
why I'm
already
surprised that when she
6 foot through
did
my
it.
full 6'3", and she was like 5'1", 5'2".
That's why I'm surprised. Like when she did it, you didn't just
Yoke
that you
ass
didn't
up.
catch a reflex. I mean, you had some
No,
serious control right there. Some serious
I've
control.
had to learn a long
Not
time ago
catch
because
reflexes.
I've been slapped across the face a few times.
I remember one time I
I
had
had
a
to back and
reflex.
walk away because I knew if I tried it, because I knew when that person slapped me, he was trying to goad me into something, and I knew I had to walk away, especially because
I
I knew I was
remember
outnumbered in that situation.
I knew that when a female hit me
Hmm.
and almost broke my nose with a fucking 15-pound container, 10 to 15-pound container of protein
What?
in my face, and it was just a reflex of slapping the shit out of her.
And how many times did she put her hands on you after that?
Not a single one.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And I'm gonna tell you, she didn't realize and see. And when I say this, I'm being very candid. I'm not promoting it. I'm not saying, yeah, that's what you need to do. No, I'm not. I'm just talking about the reflex, like Bay said.
Yeah.
It was just reflective because I thought my nose was broken.
Yeah.
And she didn't realize how powerful. And I don't even think and I didn't even touch her that hard.
30% power.
It was probably 25%.
Oh Lord.
25% power. And she rolled 3 times. And I picked her up by her chin. Said, you know, I could have killed you if I hit you any harder. And that was just with a slap.
I'm laughing because it's like after that she started dressing like a school marm.
It was so funny because I always ask myself, I'm the cool, level headed guy. You want to get aggressive with me, but then you cooked all this food, you fucked me like a porn star. And she even said, damn, my tongue's still swollen. I said, why did you ever take it there?
First of
And
all, were you
I'm
talking
not a
shit like
violent,
Wesley Pipes?
little bit,
There you go. That will
little
do it.
bit.
That will do it. That will do it.
And the fucked up part about it is, fellas, because most people won't admit to certain shit. I will because I want people to learn from those incidents. I've always wondered this, and ABM could tell you, and a lot of people who know me for years now will tell you.
Mhm.
Charles is one of the guys who's chill. The God of War comes out, that Aries spirit comes the fuck out,
Mhm.
and everybody's like batting down the fucking hatches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got a guy who would kill and die for you. Why do that? Why do that? And it's like, why do I have to do all this? You want to go back into your feminine process? And I'm like, and it goes back into the malfunction of the modern woman.
Mhm.
That man, you take as an easygoing guy, is weakness because you've been surrounded by a bunch of bastardized masculinity. What's up, Simply Deep? And
controversy.
you want to poke the bear. What happens to people when people tell you, a park ranger, number one will tell you, is not to feed what?
You're
Don't
not
feed the
feeding
bears.
bear.
Don't feed any of the wildlife,
Yeah.
Why
especially
don't
not
you
the
feed?
bears,
Why don't you feed the bear?
because then the bear will associate humans with food.
And then eventually you'll become food.
Hmm.
Do you know how strong a fucking Kodiak is?
The
And think
Kodiak bear is the biggest bear on the planet. And they're
sometimes
found
it's
only on
them,
the Kodiak Islands off the coast of Alaska. So those guys are giants.
sometimes it's them, sometimes it's fucking the polar bear.
Oh, polar bears, the ultimate predators.
And what do Kodiaks and polar bears have in common?
Carnivorous.
They're not omnivores.
They're straight up carnivores.
You see that video? Remember that guy and his girlfriend got ate by them damn bears?
Oh, the grizzly bears.
Yeah,
Was it
because
Grizzly Man?
they were
The
so
grizzly man.
stupid. Like the bears were like, I think they were coming out of hibernation or something like that.
Hmm.
And they sitting up here, oh, we're one with nature. Excuse me, those bears are starving. And you smell delicious.
You think that's scary, Bay? Let me tell you something that's worse. Moose.
Oh my god, those things
Oh,
are
moose does. I mean, I live up here, up here in Norway. They hunt moose. The biggest
bears.
moose you find up. Yeah, we got moose up here. They hunt moose out here. In fact, on some of the interstates we have up here, you will see signs with the moose on it that says moose crossing here. Be careful, you can end up hitting mooses. Like there have been times where cars will collide with moose. But anyway,
How the hell do you not see those big ass tanks of an animal?
you see a
No,
no. Sometimes moose have a tendency to just like hop the railing, trying to cross the street, trying to cross the road to get where they need to be.
You know
So you
how
gotta be
big a
careful.
fucking moose is?
Yeah, close to 15 to 2,000 pounds, 1,500 to 2,000 pounds. You know, those are big ass animals. But here's the thing:
Do you know
if they
how
lower
high
their
they sit up?
head, 7 foot, 7 foot tall
At the
at the
shoulder?
shoulder, 7 foot tall.
All four hooves on the ground.
And
And you
they'll try
gotta
to
think,
stomp you to
when
chase bears.
their head are up, they're closer
Mm-hmm.
to 10 feet, maybe
Mm-hmm.
even 11.
Depending on the species.
And they come even bigger. You got to
Yeah.
think about it. What's brown bears hunt black bears?
Like Crips and Bloods.
You got to understand something.
No black and brown coalition there.
No, not at all. You got to understand something about nature.
Mm-hmm.
What is the ultimate land predator God ever created? You give up?
Polar bear?
Nope.
No.
The
Ultimate
most
lamb predator.
successful species of ground predator is this motherfucker who just went under my bed.
Oh,
The
the
cat?
lion?
The cat family.
The felines. Those felines,
Tell me,
pets.
tell me throughout history what a cat can't do and what a cat can't hunt. Do you know? And I'm going to give people a little history and science lesson because niggas don't read. We educational over here, right, fellas?
Mm-hmm.
The largest cat ever discovered was called the American lion. You
Which is
got the
extinct.
lions? Yep, thank God.
They were like basically like saber-toothed tigers, man.
They
They were
were
saber-toothed.
they were
Scary as hell.
bigger. They were bigger.
Bigger, but they had they had those protruding canines like a saber-tooth.
No, they didn't have protrudings. Let me put it to you this way.
Oh.
An African lion
Mm-hmm.
at its biggest is 600 pounds.
The Atlas line in particular.
A fucking American lion was anywhere from 800 at the smallest
Mm-hmm.
to 1200 at the biggest,
Ooh,
and can move
nasty.
30 to 40 miles per hour. What the fuck can you do against that?
Not a goddamn thing.
They were around the same time as the mastodon, the woolly mammoth,
The
and
terror birds.
they were hunting that motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about Kodiaks. Do you know why the American native looks distinct? Because there was a thing called the short-faced bear. That
Yeesh.
they, come over here, motherfuckers. Come over here. The water's frying. A 12 to 14 foot on its hind legs standing bear. This is the reason why the Native Americans look distinct. And I know that people will look at it like there's a reason why. You think you're tough. Your ancestors are 1,000 times the man and women you were.
Especially
They
when they
didn't
have to
have
endure.
they didn't have firearms back then. When people say, "Well, black people ain't that tough," shit, look what the fuck we had to endure. Before we had racism, we had animal warfare.
I'm looking at a picture of a short-faced bear, man. They were.
Look at it compared to other bears standing. There's a picture of a short-faced bear that they recreated
Yeah.
on a statue. Look at it when it stands next to a human being.
They got to reconstruct the skeleton of one of these motherfuckers.
You're talking about a normal brown bear or Kodiak bear or polar bear can crush
With a
bowling
short
balls with their
face.
teeth. With a 11 to 1,200 pound bite force, you motherfuckers will get fucked up by jaguars, which is pound for pound the strongest cat that ever existed. But the jaguar has the strongest bite force of any cat today.
Those things
1,200
hunt
pounds.
caimans. An
Meanwhile,
adult
you
male
walking
will
around
hunt a
looking like
caiman.
meals. You run around looking like meals on wheels.
And this is why I say, y'all want to disrespect the men that defeated that? There are some men who've actually fought jaguars and won.
That's why you got jaguar warriors among the Incas, the Aztecs, and others.
And you're telling me, and by the way, you do know they're reintroducing that motherfucker to the United States to get rid of invasive species, right?
What, jaguars?
Mm-hmm. They were part of it.
Oh Lord, there was a house that had
What
a
about the
mouse.
pumas?
So the
I mean,
the
here's the cat. Here's the something nobody talks about. In parts of like
Believe
Colorado and what
and
in the West
believe it or
Coast, you
not,
got. Mhm.
pumas are not considered big cats.
No, sorry, I meant to say mountain lions.
Mountain lions, those are pumas.
Yeah. Ooh, those guys are not to be messed with.
Those are house cats on steroids. Like they on fucking fentanyl and steroids. Like I'm gonna tell you. Do you know how powerful and quick a fucking house cat is?
They
If I,
actually, I saw a video. They were talking about cats. Their reflexes are so heightened that like they can dodge snake attacks.
like
Like a
snakes can't
snake,
bite them.
yeah. Snake is slow, like almost 10 times slower than a cat as far as their reflexes. They
Like I'm
got
looking at my
videos out there where they show snakes trying to bite cats, and the cats jump back and slap the shit out of
and then crushed his head.
them. And we're
Like
talking
you
about
got
a house cat.
a house cat. So you can imagine a fucking tiger. And this is I know people are like, what the fuck are they talking? This is in context when it comes to disrespecting your men. A tiger can jump 13 feet in the fucking air. A 700-pound kitty cat
Mm-hmm.
can clear a fucking basketball rim. I want you to think
They're
about
built
that.
like that by design.
That's why do you think I said that is the if God said make me a perfect land fucking predator, it's a cat. Notice their design never changed in like a million years.
They just got smaller. They come in various sizes.
And a house cat is one of the most successful predators in the current world. They have like a damn near 80-90% kill rate.
Yeah.
The only thing that outranks a house cat is a mosquito. Thank you, malaria. So you're telling me most of you chicks can't even walk your dogs because they're dragging you, but you want to slap men. I'm looking at chicks who think they could beat me up, and these are chicks I've been to the gym with, and you saw me lift raw weight, 400 pounds for reps. And you sit around and you looking at other men, not women, other men marvel at that shit.
Except for
And
one brother from down in South Florida who's always low key hating. Shout out to Mr. Z.
They've been
I had to
trained.
say,
It's Western culture.
yeah.
Western
go
culture
ahead.
teaches women that men are obsolete. And
Which is absurd.
what you're seeing with this whole job loss thing is just the system resetting itself.
Mm-hmm.
They lost jobs, men gained jobs. Excuse me. Let me be specific. Black women lost jobs. Black men gained jobs. It's the system resetting itself.
Thanks, Donald Trump.
All of this feminism, welfare,
50
woke,
years later.
EI, affirmative action, all of this shit, it's ran its course. And you don't have that to fall back on now. And so now that you're back to the one and only true friend you've ever had in this fucking country, the black man. The
Isn't this like
problem
Thanos
is,
when he said all roads leads to me, basically? It's like you took 50 years to get to here, and you look at you, you're still
the
here.
problem
Right, you
the
lead to
problem
me.
is that you got a lot of men now who don't want to play ball.
Exactly.
You fresh out of luck.
What did Thanos say? Look at all you've done.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all the turns, and what did it do? Leads you right back to me. And
Go ahead, finish your thought, dude.
You couldn't live with your failure. Where did that bring you?
Yeah.
Back to me.
Yep.
Classic.
that was a classic line. That was a top 10 movie line of all time.
Thanos had more fucking classic lines than Apocalypse.
Yeah. Thanos had about as many classic lines as The Godfather.
Put it this way, Thanos had no wasted dialogue.
No.
He was a very
Everything he
well-written.
said, it was for a purpose.
Yeah, he was
Quick
very well
question.
written.
If Thanos, and I could put it like this, is Thanos like the smarter version of Joker or something in a way? Like the way how, like, you know, I know they're part of two different franchises. and everything like that, but I'm just
He is
looking
nothing
at it.
like the Joker.
No, I'm just
Thanos
saying,
is
like,
not-
no, I'm talking about.
Thanos is Batman if the crazy took over.
That's what I'm saying. Like Joker is kind of like
Thanos
the
is
way
just
how
a
Thanos
thinker
kind of
'cause
works is kind of seem like a Joker to me, but at the same
Yeah,
time he's more
Joker is pure
intellectual with like
chaos.
Batman.
Joker is
Thanos
pure
is a
chaos.
military man. Thanos has always been a thinker,
Right.
a strategist.
Yeah,
That's why I say if
I guess I guess I keep
you
mixing my
look-
Thanos up with the movie Thanos and the comic book Thanos, so I'm just like Thanos always seemed like a Joker and Batman hybrid to me.
Not
Thanos-
really, because
Thanos,
like they said. Go ahead.
Thanos is basically this. Thanos is if Captain America stopped giving a fuck and you gave him the body of the Hulk.
Oh shit!
Remember
Oh shit!
Captain
Yo,
America?
that's good. That's good. That's good.
Remember Captain America when I forgot who said in the chat? I think it was Detroit 313 when he doesn't have his ruthlessness. Oh, you saw Cap's ruthlessness in Winter Soldier, the first fucking scene where they were on that cruise liner. He was ruthless to the motherfucker, wasn't he?
Hell yeah.
Wait a minute.
That
Was
first
that the was that the
that
one
first
where
kick, that
Mhm.
first kick where he gave that dude and he went flying, he was dead.
He had his whole
I don't know.
footprint in
He
his
kicked him
chest.
so hard that he bent the
Right in his
guardrail.
chest.
He kicked him so hard that
Like,
dude bent the guardrail before he went into the ocean. So he
He
went
either
broken back. He died horribly.
died on impact, hopefully, when he hit the rail or when he drowned. Remember when he stuck the knife into the dude's hand and kicked him?
Yeah.
That was ruthless.
You ever
Wait a minute.
read
We're talking
Secret Wars?
about
Like the
didn't was
first
the
secret, no, I'm sorry, not Secret Wars, Civil War, like the comic book.
I
okay.
got this. I got the autograph first edition in my box.
Remember what Cap said to Tony Stark? Tony was talking about this is war, and Cap was like, no, this ain't war. You don't want me to go to war.
He was right because you're talking to somebody who's a World War II veteran.
Like, dude, I'll kill all of you. You don't want to go to war. This is just love tapping.
You don't.
Hey, you know what? You know what that showed. You know what that kind of showed me in a little bit in that Civil War is like the hubris of like how can I put it like this? Not just the young, but the what was it called? Like these tech giants and stuff. It's like, yo, this is war. This is what you guys don't know what real war is. And then like when a real man comes, like, young boy, you don't know shit. What you talking about? You think you know how to handle this new fangled way of fighting wars and all that stuff. At the end of the day, it's still gonna be a knife gonna be put at you to your throat.
You know what I told a guy on the street when he tried to be tough? He like, why you gotta take it personal, man? You ain't nothing. I said, dude, I'm gonna explain something to you. If I took it personal, I put two in your head and walk away
Mhm.
and not
That's
even
what I was,
think of it.
man.
I said,
Indiana Jones, your ass.
let me ask you this question. Who's man or woman enough to keep me from snapping your neck? Right now, look on the street. How many people do you think would keep me from breaking your neck? And who would be quick enough to stop me?
Well, since
Who would
no
be
man's here, I just gotta say nobody.
And I really tell people this. There's an old saying in the military: never threaten death to a death dealer.
No.
When people ask, because I'm a jovial natured person when I want to be. I like to joke. I like to have a good time. You know, what's that old one-liner Tupac had?
I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
Here's the difference between me and Tupac.
I was thinking of Walter White.
Here's the difference between me and Tupac.
Go ahead.
I'm actually trained to be a killer. And I had to come to terms with that. Your first objective as any personnel of the military is to what?
Kill. You're a trained warrior. You're trained how to use a rifleman. I mean, trained how to be a rifleman.
Think about this. My cat just walked back in my room and he's got his little mouse toy. My cat's not a year old yet, but what is he trained to do?
Catch mouse.
Kill.
To catch mice. Keep the rodents out.
Yep. He just dropped it right there just to show me he's keeping up with his skills.
Look, Pops.
And like, and he's saying, Papa, hey, I don't think you're eating enough. Here.
And guess what? You know what that means?
Can you bring me some more mice? I ain't had no mice to hunt. What's going on here?
Why do you think I bring him? Why do you think I bring him toys? It's like giving a boxer or a wrestler a mat. When a wrestler sees a mat, what is he gonna do?
Practice.
Roll.
Train. When a boxer sees a heavy bag, what is he gonna do? He's gonna bang away.
He gonna bang away. Practice on his power punches.
Because here's the thing about it: it's in their nature. And I had to explain this to a female. I don't know. This might make me weird, but this is a male's nature. Have you walked in a room with a bunch of men? Yeah, there can be women there too. But have you ever scanned a room and just said to yourself, how many of these motherfuckers I could take one on one?
Every damn day.
Every single time I walk into a room, I gotta assess
Everywhere I go.
place everywhere I go, and
That's
sometimes
Shoot.
something women. That's something that women do not understand. What I just said, every man felt me on that one, did they not?
we know because
Mhm.
we understand. If you know the air, if you know the minute you're in there, you're looking at the room, you're wondering, okay, where are all the exits at? Who's here? And what are the chances that shit could go south? Shit could go left.
Look,
And it
I'm too old to fight, so I carry. When I go
and
out
His
to
Shoot, the older I
chances,
get, the more I become old man Batman. I'm not playing around. It's like, dude, I'm
right,
already 30. And I know I ain't. I'm like, I know I'm still young, but I'm like, nah. The older I get, I'm like, oh, I understand Batman now. Why he got even more brutal. I'm like,
it,
forget this.
there's a reason why. There was an incident at one of my homeboys' baby shower. He's a medically retired cop, and he had a
okay,
baby shower with his wife, and some fool pulled out a gun
that's
because
why.
he was getting a, and this is one of the wife's friends, not his, because we were respectful. His buddy, who I also know, he was a member of SWAT, and he wasn't carrying. I just came from the range to come to the baby shower. I had my Glock 23 on me, and all you heard was dudes say gun. People didn't know we could move that quick, instinctively. I did a backwards roll and didn't even know I was, and had my gun drawn. When I said dude, and I backed up into the house off the porch, and I told everybody get the fuck in the kitchen. And
Mm-mm-mm.
when the dude was like trying to go up the block, prostrating, he didn't see me come out the back, and I went to my trunk. You know what I had in my trunk?
The 12
what?
gauge.
Man, you popped the
Long.
No,
trunk on his ass. I don't need. I don't need you to answer that. You already
I'm
answered
gonna
enough.
answer.
You popped the trunk on him.
I'm gonna answer it. I had my custom made 300 blackout,
Ooh,
Ooh,
30 round 300 blackout.
geez, that's
Imagine,
overkill, bro.
imagine if I had, imagine the casing of a 5.56 with the round of a 7.62. That's a 300 blackout.
Oh God, damn, yo,
For,
that's the
for a street fight?
you go.
What are you,
You
Frank
trying to take
Castle?
him out completely? Like, what are you facing? The tank? Like,
Bro, it's
what
like a
you
street
doing?
fight. You don't need to break out the military grade weaponry.
And I'm like this.
Exactly.
I'm Baltimore. I'm Baltimorean. You know what our motto is? Nigga, we don't fight fair.
hell,
Is that the
nah,
truth,
nah, nah.
ABM?
Facts.
I don't fight fair. Two things I'm gonna tell you.
Matter of fact, we don't fight at all.
I'm gonna tell you one thing. If a man can bleed hand to hand, there's a chance I can win, and I'm okay with that. But if you pull out weapons, I'm pulling out bigger ones. I don't fight fair.
Chuck,
And his wife was upset with me for a minute. You know what he told his wife? Sit the fuck down.
shut the fuck up.
And he says, first of all, that man will protect you with his life because he respects me as a brother that much. A brother in blue. He would lay down his life and kill every goddamn thing for you, for not only the child that you have in the womb, but for my family who was here. Number two, he said Falk might be the nicest guy you know, but he could flip that switch and he's the most dangerous motherfucker we'll ever meet. And he was like, be glad he was there. Because if your boy would have, he said, if your boy would have pointed that gun in the house direction, he would have killed him without question. He said he would have been,
Yo, Charles. I'll
you
continue.
know,
Sorry, my fault.
Justifiable homicide.
yeah.
It'd be
Yo,
justifiable.
you know, one thing I always had to always had to keep reminding my family and other friends and other shit like that when they're acting stupid. I'm like, I'm a trained killer, right? I'm actually a trained murderer and everything like that in every sense of the word. And you don't see me acting like this.
And I
Like,
tell
why are you doing it?
people look at, and because to go back further to ABM statement, we have such a bastardized version of masculinity in modern women's eyes that they think the thug is the ultimate man.
Emotional It's emotionally unbalanced males.
Yeah,
That's what they
and I'm
call masculinity now,
and
or
this is
toxic masculinity.
yeah. And I said, you know who some of the most dangerous motherfuckers that in the comic books we read? See,
Quiet one.
guess
Unless you're
guess what?
Punisher.
The
Thinkers.
Guess the
The
thinkers.
thinkers. The
Guess
thinkers always been. Apocalypse is a thinker.
you know the one motherfucker that scared the shit out of the Joker just by talking to him. You know who that character is?
Superman?
No.
Yep.
Who?
Oh,
It was
Superman?
Superman. Superman.
You know why? He had a conversation with him. He's like, "I'll blow up this building." He's like, "Cool. I already evacuated it." He said, "I'll still blow it up. I'll survive." But Batman, I'm not Batman. He doesn't kill. See, Batman doesn't kill. I just choose not to. He says, "But what if I kill myself? You'll do the world a favor." He's-
And didn't like Joker like end up slapping his head. He's like, damn. He was basically like, damn.
I'm a liberal.
he's like,
No, he was
"Do
like, no,
you-
he said send me back to Gotham or something. I remember him
do
saying
you
something
think-
like that. Just
do
send me
you
back.
think do you think a kid born in Kansas on a farm is liberal?"
Hell no.
Conservative.
Oh no, he killed a
What
bunch of
red?
cattle.
For his
He
steak
even
dinner.
knows when to put down a rabid dog.
What did he say in Trinity, which also has time from John Byrne? He said, growing up on a farm, people may call me excuse me, let me get it right. I know people call me the Boy Scout, but one thing I learned growing up on a farm, even I know when to put a mad dog down. So what is he telling you?
He'll take you out.
He'll take you out when necessary. When absolutely necessary, he will kill,
Last time I checked, when he fought Doomsday, what was he willing to do?
kill him.
Kill him.
Was there any other option in his mind?
No.
He's too powerful.
No.
He was beating Doomsday like your big brother would do, like you if you were like 5 and he's like 15. And
Yo, he was like, when it came to him and facing like Doomsday, it was more like, dude, he was trying not to. He didn't want to kill Doomsday, but he was
No,
like, yo, Doomsday, you're so fucked up.
No.
Remember, he
made-
was trying to give Doomsday a chance at one point.
No. At some point in his mind, he knew he had to kill him.
Yeah, no, that's why I was making the point. I was like, he was trying to at first, but then he's like, yeah, it was no, like Doomsday, you were so messed up. Like, I have no other choice but to do it now.
It's not that he was
Like, I
so
was
messed
giving
up.
you.
It's not that he was so messed up. It's that he was such a threat. Let me put it to you this way. Doomsday is Superman without any type of morality. Just rage. I'm going to tell you the worst type of people a cop can get into is a mentally ill motherfucker. Somebody on the spectrum. You ever faced a guy, and this is the reason why I should be, for any of these so-called law enforcement people, I'm probably the most experienced out of all of them. I'm not bragging when I say that. I'll challenge them on that. You ever had to fight a motherfucker on PCP?
Ooh.
No,
I
I
have.
seen it though.
I have.
I've seen it.
I have a right hand when I box that even top amateurs and pros was like, my God. If he trained more, he would just, they said if I wasn't a good trained boxer, he would have put me to sleep. Let me put it to you this way. When I sparred people, I've knocked people down with jabs. This motherfucker rolled. I mean, I had full extension and twist with that right hand when he came towards me. He was about 6'2", 175 pounds. Not a tall dude, but not a big dude.
Somebody my size. Damn.
Boom! You could hear the pop. It sounded like a bat hit him. That's how quick and decisive that right hand was. He rolled like 4 or 5 times back, got up like the mask and started giggling. I looked at my partner and I was like, oh, shit. And by the way, to give you context, he was high off of embalming fluid, weed, and PCP.
Where the hell do people get PCP?
Where did he get the embalming fluid from? He went to a funeral home?
I don't know. But you know them.
That's a DC thing.
That's a DC
They call it Love Boat.
Love Boat. They made a go-go song out of that shit back in the early '90s.
That Negro's on PCP, Johnson.
And it was like, and it's like
I had to do something.
you hit
Okay,
a
Dave
motherfucker. You hit a motherfucker that hard that he couldn't even react to it, and he just rolled 3 or 5 times and gets up like the Mask and starts smiling. I thought the motherfucker was gonna yell "Showtime."
You mean?
Smoking and all this shit, like
Love Boat or the Dipper.
the Dippers, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yo, Charles, for some reason, I'm seeing like the Mask. For some reason, like you punched the Mask. You're like from it was Jim Carrey. You remember when he played
Yeah.
the Mask? Yeah,
Yeah,
like
that's
that's
how it
what
was.
like as soon as you hit him, he rolled over. He just smiles at you like Showtime.
and
With a green
then
big
I'm gonna
ass
tell
smile.
people. I'm gonna tell people. I looked at my partner in France. Is not a small dude. He's about 5'10", 250, 260. And he was a great wrestler himself. And I looked at him and I was like, oh shit. It took us 15 minutes to subdue him. Okay? Y'all know the S-Band tunes. I know ABM know it. I carry one made out of Cocoa Bola, the wood nightsticks that you see spinning.
Oh, Tiffany.
We had him handcuffed. We finally subdued him, handcuffed him, and we had the S-Band tune in the crock of his elbow on top of the patrol car, and he was still kicking. We literally called, instead of for a wagon at 10:50, we like, yo, instead of for the wagon, we like, yo, we need a 10:15. No, we need the wagon yesterday. And we like, no. And I'm like, I actually cussed on the radio. Get your fucking ass down here now. And people were like, yeah, it's a code.
Okay.
And
You guys got to put him in a padded cell.
and it was funny because, well, now it's funny. It wasn't fighting that motherfucker. And that's when you're like, dude,
That's some scary shit.
this motherfucker. We took him to the emergency room where they put him in one of those padded cells. The nurse came in with the little sleepy juice and hit him. And guess what?
What?
It was like the nightmare on Elm Street in real life. It had a negative effect because of the chemicals already in his body and made him more amped. So this motherfucker was tossing around the hospital security in the room. So we had to go back in there. And I literally had to fucking clothesline this nigga, drop him on the floor, and I forgot what type of submission hold I had him. It was like some fucking Josh Burnett shit. And this motherfucker made me roll on my really, really bad knee. And my partner heard me yell, "Ah, that's my fucking bad knee. Give me my fucking nightstick." He was like, "Oh shit, he about to kill this motherfucker." He was like, "No, no, no." So they had to hit him with a second shot that finally put him to sleep. Because I was about to break this motherfucker's neck. And I've told people, I said, look, I'm one of the few cops to be this candid about shit because I like to keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
And notice you don't hear Tatum talking about a lot of cases he's been on, do you?
Well, he was only a cop for 3 years.
In Phoenix.
So, and you want to compare and you want to compare Phoenix to Baltimore.
Hell no.
Yeah, I don't think he could hack. I don't think he could handle it. That's
No.
why he stepped out.
And I'm gonna tell you what's funny. When I went to Vegas for my birthday years ago, number one, I kept getting stopped by police, not because I looked like the suspect, because they thought I was one of the UFC fighters there. And I was like,
you
no,
are a heavyweight.
They were like, no, I'm a cop. Like, where? And I showed them my badge, Baltimore. They're like, oh shit. He was like, you from Baltimore? Man, you motherfuckers are like the Justice League and Avengers to us. I kid you not. He's like, man, can we take a picture with you, man? I was like, sure. He was like, God damn, is it as bad as they say? I said it's worse. I was like, if you look at my hands, if some of you get to beat me, remind me to show you my hands where you'll see teeth marks on my fucking knuckles. because I never like people getting close because you're trying to either grab weapons off of me or I'm gonna hit you so fast or I'm gonna throw you so fast. And I'm not the baddest guy on earth when I say this shit. I just got a few skills that saved my life. That's all I will say. So I've been through some shit, and it's crazy because she who will not be named when we were dating, and believe it or not, respect to her because she's an Afghanistan combat vet. Oh, we could have had some superhuman babies. Oh, God damn it, woman, you can act right. We could have had fucking stars in sports right now. We'd have retired off our kids with those genetics.
You had a
And
baby in the NFL. Probably play for the Ravens.
oh shit, we would have had a. My son would be boxing pro. The other kids would have been doing like MMA, football, and she did Muay Thai too. And we would have had all kinds of kids. One kid would have went to the Olympic team. Oh, we'd have had a fucking family full of fucking super smart, athletic motherfuckers. We'd have had a introducing a new race of superhumans. Um, it's funny because one time she tried to challenge me physically. And because she thought that I was talking about her and her friends who are not even friends anymore. And I told her, I said, there's a difference between men and women friends. My friends, next year, we'll be friends for 30 years. Bitches don't even talk to each other past 5. I said, if y'all really think I'm talking to y'all and if I wanted to direct my comments to somebody, I have no reason not to call you by name. I said, get all 4 of you, get all the 3, all 4 of you, y'all little motherfuckers, and I call them bitches. I said, all y'all bitches. I said, I know you got your gloves and your Muay Thai shit. Wrap your hands. I'll meet you at the gym, and I'm gonna go 25% of my power against all 4 of you at the same time. We're gonna see who goes to the hospital and who doesn't. And she thought in her mind, wait, we don't have to do all that. We can still be friends and still cordial. I said, man, get the fuck out of here. I said, no, you challenging me and call me a liar. Like, no, you don't understand who the fuck I am and where the fuck I'm from. And it's not me beating on women because trust me, I've only been in 2 types of fights: multiple people or people bigger than me, and they're men. But it goes back into the reason why we went into the whole animal and that shit is because, like ABM, Bay, and Namer said, you lost so much respect for men that you don't know how dangerous men can be. You don't know how many men out there are willing to save your life and don't even know your fucking name. And they be like, men aren't taught to be gentlemen anymore. Men are overly taught to be gentlemen. You should be scared when men just see you in danger, just walk past you. That's when you should be scared. Because you gotta say, we suck as a gender so much that I could be damn near in danger, and this man's not gonna help me because he's scared to be me too'd. He's just sick of my shit. And I think that's scary for a lot of women. Because you put yourself on such a pedestal above your men that you don't even respect the fact that your men are out there saving your ass.
Here's the thing that people forget about, Charles. A lot of boys have been taught to be gentlemen, but how many girls have been taught to be ladylike or to conduct themselves as ladies? Or
Well, that's
women.
why I said. That's why I said what I said about the stud. How does a stud question a man on what men teach boys? Bitch, you a stud.
First of all,
The,
studs
the
and
same reason nobody taught you to be a fucking lady.
that's the thing right there.
They think
She's
they
a
can raise a
stud,
boy
but
better
just
than you.
because
That's
she's a
the funny part.
stud, that's the thing about her. She's a stud. What that basically means? She's she's an outwardly masculine woman. Lesbians, first of all, what's the definition of lesbian? A lesbian is a woman who's sexually attracted to a woman. At the end of the day, she's still a woman, and she knows, yeah, I'm a woman. Even masculine person, no matter how masculine she is, she's still a woman at the end of the day. And she will still resort to her feminine nature.
You know what stud? You know what the acronym STUD stands for?
What? What? Tell me.
Still has titties under them shirts.
That was so weird.
Well, there's
in
some
other
truth in
words,
that. There's some truth in
It
that.
was
No matter
funny.
how much biting.
Still
so
has
another
under that shirt.
so here's my thing, right? You're trying to emulate what I naturally produce.
Hmm.
Number two, you're talking to two combat vets. I'm an enlisted guy. You're talking to a guy who was enlisted and became a captain. The motherfucker's Puerto Rican, black Puerto Rican, dark skinned Puerto Rican, and lived on a farm. He said, I was raised on a goddamn farm. He says, imagine coming from a farm to a captain.
Wait a minute. Are we talking about a farm in Puerto Rico or upstate New York or something like that, or Jersey?
Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Puerto
Okay.
Rico. Whoa.
Puerto
Puerto Rico.
Rico.
Whoa.
Because even if you say he's Puerto Rican, you gotta say where is he from directly from the island, or is he from
He-
like the Northeast or some shit like
He's
that? You know,
from
you got
he's
from the
from the island, accent and all.
Okay, okay, my friend.
And so you're
Va
telling
bien.
me, do you know how hard it is to be that dirt poor and to become a commander?
So many sacrifices made just to make it up the ranks.
Saving Private Ryan.
So what did he say?
Oh,
I had to
fucking
stop. I had to stop thinking like a soldier and think like a leader, a commander. I had to be responsible for others.
Exactly.
And
That's
then
the thing
people,
about commanders. You got
people,
responsibilities are different.
people. Even my godson said, he said, "You make this leadership thing look. This shit looks so easy." I said, "It's not. I just don't let you see me sweat. I got to think of ways to make sure we don't have to take a life unless it comes right down necessary." I said, "Why do you think I told two of you to walk outside? What's the one thing I don't want at a fucking comic book convention that's 90% black? I don't want no fuck in Virginia. I don't want no racist jackass to come out with a fucking AK and start shooting people, having black people having fun.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get events like that too much. It's your
They're
job to
dangerous.
walk outside. I don't give a fuck how hot it is, to go to that truck, go to the food area, go outside, walk around, make sure people safe."
shit. You see what happened in Colorado?
What's that?
The terrorist attack. The dude was throwing Molotov cocktails. He had a homemade flamethrower, screaming "Free Palestine" and illegal from the Middle East.
What's the main thing? Namer, ABM, Jay Moore, and Bay. When I first started streaming, what's the first thing I told black people to do?
Tool up.
Tool up. I remember when January 6th happened.
Why?
Because
Why?
crazy out here.
Because this was coming.
And did I
All
not?
kinds of shit was coming.
What's the first thing I told niggas? It's gonna get worse. Was I right?
Yeah.
You
What
knew
was
it
I
was gonna get right.
remember last year when I had the Embrace Villainy channel?
Mm-hmm.
What was I mainly harping on?
To get your skills up and get your tools up and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Well,
and
well,
get your
well.
fucking
Listen.
shit together. Because
What
this
about
shit
the black woman that got killed by the three Hispanic gangbangers?
6. It was 6 of them.
6. Oh, my fault.
Yeah, it was 6
Oh,
of them.
we
Wait a minute, what
listen.
the
We
hell
passed the
happened?
point of we're so past the point of tooling up.
Mhm.
I'm looking at body armor and shit now.
I will
We
tell
don't
you
worry
this
about
one.
that armor piercing shit.
This is the
Special.
reason why, and I'm gonna tell you why. I'm glad you said that. Thank you, ABM. This is the reason why I need my subscriber count up, and thank you all who got it up. Thank you for all the shorts and the views. Another reason to get the subscriber count up is when we have 2A discussions like this. I can go to Safe Life Defense, who I got a lot of shit from, and they will sponsor me with codes to get 20 to 30% off their gear. And Safe Life Defense has some of the best body armor, light body armor, that is not only bulletproof,
Mm-hmm.
but also stab proof. And imagine if I got the subscriber count where they're like, oh, you can get a lot of eyes on you, sure. Put that code up in my damn community tab. And if they see that I'm making them money, guess what? You don't have to pay as much. So what the hell? I mean, that's one of the most important things. Go ahead. Who has the next? Somebody come up with the next part of that. Go back to you, ABM.
I've been pricing body armor. I'm looking at helmets. I'm on some prep shit nowadays. uh, getting your house in order just in case of something. You might have to sit tight. You might got to hunker down for a few days. Storing food, water, or I've been on Twitter talking to military people. I'm about to get everybody in my house a bug out bag.
Don't forget your toilet paper.
I
Toilet paper
mean,
and baby
but
wipes.
that's a
are
good point though. You see
essential.
how stupid people are? Shit hits the fan. First thing you start worrying about is fucking toilet paper.
Well, literally a whole
This
lot of
is
shit
what
gonna be
men
involved.
think about versus what women think about. All these goofy conversations about is the Cheesecake Factory a good enough date and all that shit. That
Go ahead, say it. Say what I've been saying
shit
for,
is
for,
real.
for over a year.
And these motherfuckers out here still talking about dating and shit. And I hate men because of this, and men do this, and men do that. Like, man, bitch.
You are not
Stop talking
important.
to us.
You're not important to us anymore. Look, pussy's a dime a dozen, and I got $1. Okay,
Mm,
y'all made prostitution a better option any damn way. And
shit.
in Maryland, in Baltimore City, it's decriminalized any fucking way. Here's the biggest shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to LAPD SWAT when he said some gun ranges are teaching CQB courses. I took one last month.
All right.
I know the dude's a
Oh,
tree
speaking of that, I'm about to do my courses on the Red Cross for trauma.
Mm-hmm.
How
I
to
lit-
patch up stab wounds and gunshot wounds and shit. The Red Cross is doing them for like $30 a course right now.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
taking courses in Colorado for TAC Med. That is like right underneath a fucking EMT. Like, like I tell people all the time. I said, if I if I actually sent my resume to some of y'all and some of the shit that I'm trained to do,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be like, God damn, I have so much training. My second in command thought I was special operations. I said, no, but I work with them. I said, I will never do stolen valor, but I will talk about what I did. And trust me, when you saw the Viper team come, ain't nobody said, don't come. Matter of fact, the QR team I was on was so highly requested and so highly respected. We had 3-star generals when they had to go through convoys. They requested us to protect them. There's a lot of shit about Sergeant Falk y'all don't know yet. And I'm like, look, I'm gonna give y'all some tips because sooner than later, I'm gonna be doing some damn CQB courses myself. I'm gonna team up with guys who've been some of the guys who instructed me to be a firearms instructor. They were SWAT snipers and Green Berets. They don't like to talk about it, so that's why I don't mention names. But those are the credentials of some of the guys that trained me. You know, that's why a lot of times when I be like, support this, when I had those naysayers from the Island of Misfit Toys, oh, he had to GoFundMe.
No.
Do you know what the GoFundMe went to? Them young men getting their permits to carry, their private detective license, their security license, and the uniforms.
And look
Mission
at where they are
accomplished.
now.
I got one kid who's going to intelligence. He's going to third group in Africa. No, fifth group.
All right, cool.
He's gonna be attached to fifth special forces group as an intelligence enlisted.
And you've got the FBI, the Secret Service.
I got I
They're
got guys.
hiring like crazy.
Yeah, I got guys who I work with, or they work for my company, from the Capitol Police, Baltimore City, um, DOJ contractors, the corrections. Do you motherfuckers know how much of a goddamn asset a person like me is to the space? But how many motherfuckers actually respect it?
I respect it.
Well, you're not talking about how dry your dick is, so I mean,
Well, my dick is submerged, so anyway. But anyway,
Save the time and place for that one. But the thing is, his qualifications, and not to mention the training he has also passed on to the next generation. Because this goes back to what we said about Prince Adam when he said, "May it return the power," because the
make the
power was
power
his.
return.
May the power return. The power is not, and the knowledge is not for Charles to keep, but to pass on to the next generation. It's only, and he uses that knowledge when it's needed, but he still has to pass it on to the next generation and teach them and prepare them for what they have to prepare for. Because there's certain things, and this training and everything is all going to get evolved eventually. Because you sometimes what they learn from you, sometimes they're going to have to learn how to think several steps ahead for preventative measures. Because there's going to be certain scenarios they're going to foresee that never crossed your mind. This is how the training evolves and everything. This is something we forget. That's why the power has to return. The knowledge has to return to everyone. You can't expect people to get the whole story if you leave out certain vital details. You guys can't, you got to continue to learn and evolve. I remember where I'm from, they say, take what you need, leave the rest. But I've also understood that learn from other people. And if you see holes in what they're teaching, improve it or leave it. We got to make some tweaks here and there. Sometimes got to think outside the box, and like electrician, when he's got a project to do, and he sees something, there's something suspicious or some suspect about the project, he doesn't like it. When it comes to the
I'm,
wiring,
I'm
he
gonna
might
tell
have
you.
to improvise or something like that.
I'm gonna tell you. There's sometimes
Mhm.
when you train people, you got to put them in damn near no-win situations just to see how they think.
Yeah,
And the leadership qualities, you got to train people. It's like even with my cat, right? My cat is funny because he knows who the leader is. That's why he always come to my room. All your animals know who the alpha is. That's one thing smart about animals. They always got to come and bow with the feet of the. If you ever had a dog or cat, what's the first thing they'll do when you come through the door? They greet you,
they
right?
greet you. They're very attached to you because they see you as a part of their group,
Part of their group or
their
their
leader.
pride. So I smile at my cat sometimes because he knows even he won't sit in my chair except today because he was waiting for me so long to come into the house. He sat in my chair just so I could see him. Didn't scratch it or nothing, just sat there and just laid there because one, it had my scent, and two, it was comfortable. And he was just waiting for me to come there to notice him. That's why he's in my room constantly. He's doing his little patrols. He'll be on my little rug and he'll lay there, just listen to me talk. And you should see him when he goes behind my dresser. He'll go up in the window. He'll go sniffing for stuff. And He's training. I'm training him to be okay. I'm going to open up my door to my room. You go search. The same way I would do a person. This is also another thing that here's the goal for 2025 and 2026. Okay, for not only me but Blackline Security. I'm trying to go to the NRA law enforcement firearms courses where I could be certified to teach law enforcement gun courses. So I could go to any law enforcement and be like, hey, I could teach your course. And you got to pay me just like any other officer here, if not more. I don't have to go to Baltimore City. I could go somewhere in one of the little small little bumneck counties in Virginia or whatever with 25 personnel in their police department. All I got to do was say, Iraq war vet, Baltimore police officer, former sergeant. Not in Baltimore City, but another organization. And what do you think they'll say? Motherfucker, we're hired. How much do you need?
Not only that, but those certifications and those trainings you get expands your network,
Mm-hmm.
expands your reach. Just like
I'll
when you
even
went to
say,
Colorado, that expand you when you were in Colorado, you weren't just training, you were also interacting with other colleagues who were there to train, exchanging information and whatnot. And you probably expanded into networking as well.
mm-hmm. How many motherfuckers you think that I can go and be like, hey, you got work? Within that 1 year from Colorado, we did BlurCon with Cree Summer.
Yeah.
Did successful there. And I was hired by a well off dude. And I basically had a vacation watching a rich family play on the beach for roughly what? And I don't like to talk money, but I'll say it this way. Basically, I was getting paid like roughly, I'll give you a range, 1,000 to 1,500 a day for 5 days.
And that was
You know,
good. And that was a good investment on that man's part because I'm
I
sure
did.
his family. I mean, that was some good serious dough right there. But as far as
And
that
I
man
mean,
goes,
and
there's
it
no
was
price
funny.
for security.
And it was funny because I actually showed them what I brought. I had my Glock 23, but I had 210 rounds. I had five, 5 or 6 rounds of 1340 caliber, and I had four 22 round mags of 40 caliber.
Mm-hmm.
So plus I had the first aid, plus I had the stethoscope, the blood pressure kit, I had the wound patches, all that. And he was like, "Dude, I didn't know you knew how to do this." I said, I looked at him and I said, "Sir, you get what you fucking pay for." Makes sense, doesn't it, Bay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, even to this day, when the Padawans, now Jedi Knights, somebody asked them when they were trying to brag on their money, "I'm making 20-something dollars an hour. What's the most you ever got paid an hour?" I said, "Shit, working." And they told them, they said, "Shit, I got paid $200 an hour to protect celebrities." They were like, "Really? Yeah, we were getting paid we were paying paid $100 every half an hour." He he got humbled real quick.
Oh, he didn't get humbled. He got humbled as if he were the Iron Sheik.
But according to people from the Island of Misfit Toys, which I don't mention very often,
Mm-hmm.
I was pocketing the money. And the same people who produced my GoFundMe were not the people who put into it. Because GoFundMe tells you who actually donated. And guess who donated? The same motherfuckers who follow my show regularly. Go figure, right? And thank you all who donated.
Yeah.
So we got gold.
Yeah, you're welcome. That'll be $2.
I'm good for it. But it goes back into what we talked about before is preparation. And to me, I think that one, I've said this before, as much as it pains me, black men are going to have to be their own separate entity from their women. Well, the white man, we ain't white. The next motherfucker to say, Well, white man, I ain't white. I ain't got a country that's for me, by me. I may have built it, but guess who I built it for? It wasn't for us. And we have to come to that realization. My woman is the most seditious traitor in American history since Benedict Arnold. It pains
Or as
me to say
BTS
that.
would put it,
Judas, true Judas.
A true Judas. You women don't appreciate the same man that fought a war to get you out of slavery. But if you listen to them, The Color Purple was based on a true story, verse for verse.
bullshit.
Every man was acting like that.
Every man was slapping it up. But you go from 1972 to 1984, they did a study where there were more black women killing black men than the other way around.
Yeah.
When you look at how statistically, when you look at the black community, you're 5 times more likely to suffer child abuse or sexual child abuse
At the hands of a woman.
at the hands of a woman or the sleazy motherfucker she's with because she doesn't want to be alone.
See?
Shout out to Dr. Umar. When you have a strong father nearby, for some odd reason, all the pedophiles and perverts, they're cured. They're cured when they see a dad. Go ahead.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah,
Uh,
nobody was laughing.
oh yeah, but they're cured of their fucking disease and their ailments when there's a strong masculine father presence around. Oh, well, it's
Y'all remember the
it's
movie The Stepfather?
no.
Oh, you mean the white guy?
Mm-hmm.
The movie opened up, he had already slaughtered one family and was moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And John Travolta plays a dad who's got to protect, who goes out of his way to protect his son from this maniac who married his ex-wife.
And see, that tells you that right there tells you. Are women really good at vetting men?
Not really. On top of that, let's not forget there's a lot of people in this world. There's some sick people in this world who know how to charm their way into situations and know how to put up a mask and a facade.
hmm And I'm gonna tell you,
Ask me how I know.
and I'm gonna tell you this one thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The biggest crime when DDP or DDG was talking about, and he has a baby by who? What's one of those girls' name? One of the Bailey girls,
Haley Bailey, I think it is.
Haley.
Haley, and they're trying to make it look like she's a victim.
Get the fuck out of here.
Where's your police reports?
She filed a restraining order and trying to get sole custody of the kid.
Anybody can file a restraining order. Where's the
Yeah.
police reports if you're abusive?
These are you talking about the same chick who her sister and her mama ran their father out of the house when he was their manager because they wanted to go. Well, I guess the one that is the super slut, she wanted to go the slut route. But the younger one, she wasn't built for it. But she too is now a baby mama to some no account rapper here in Atlanta. And it's funny because they were back when they were being managed by their father, they were on track to like
Superstardom.
yeah, they were going to be the Venus and Serena of R&B and soul.
Youngest sister, the older, wait,
Did you see what DDP said?
Chloe and Haley Bailey. Those are two.
It's on my. If you're friends with me on Facebook, it's on my shit, and you'll see a silly bitch trying to argue with me about why y'all make excuses for not trying to get. I says you're being disingenuous to think the justice legal system when it comes to child custody and child support is on men's side. If a bitch thinks it's equal between men and women, stop talking to that bitch.
Nobody thinks that shit. They don't think that. That's why they do it all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
I had a
And
female.
again,
Go
I
ahead.
have to reiterate, this is what Western culture has trained women to do. Hey, I don't value men. Fuck my kid having a father. It's all about me. What's the worst that could happen? Here's what the fuck it is. I mean, just stop playing around. You know, go to one of these fucking sperm farms. You feel me? If you don't want a father for your child, just get artificially inseminated and be done with it. What's the fucking point of it? But that's what they've been fucking taught. And that's why I say nobody learned anything from COVID.
You
Except
gotta
how to
tell me
open an
twice, man.
OnlyFans account.
I'm just
Do
go ahead,
whatever
man.
I want. There's nothing bad is ever going to happen. You know, I
Just
take
gotta
for
learn the hard
granted
way.
that the lights are always going to be on. I take for granted that the delivery truck is always going to bring the food to the grocery store.
You know
Hey, if
what?
I need help, I'll just call a cop. You know, I say defund the police, but hey, they have to do what I tell them to do, so they'll show up. No, I mean, nah,
ABM,
it doesn't
I gotta
work.
tell you a
These are
story.
people you dealing with.
Yeah.
It's
ABM.
gonna
Cops
come
can
to the
just
day.
easily say, "No, I'm not coming."
Yeah.
There could easily come a day, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be zombies. But you do know we're two, if not one major disaster of being in The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Do y'all know that?
It seemed like The Walking Dead. I remember when the first shutdown happened, and for some, and me personally, I was okay with it. The shutdown. Me being me, I got my issues, but just
Your
the shutdown.
issues is that. Let me put it to you this way: we all have issues,
Mhm.
but the thing about the issue is, you're a man. You learn to be content.
Learn to be content, and I was also kind of glad. And for some reason, I just said I had this sense because I remember when we had the shutdown here. I remember just one afternoon, I just one day, it's like around in the afternoon, I just step out the house, I walk into the grocery store. It's eerie, quiet, but it was like strangely tranquil. And I liked it that way
Mm-hmm.
because I'm used to because I like that because I like the calmness of it. And it's summer. It's like, it's spring going into summer and it was just calm and tranquil. Nobody was around, nobody was bothering me. I didn't have to put my mask on right then and there, but I knew when I was going into just before I went to the grocery store, I had to put on my mask, and it was just stable that way. But to ABM's point, what he said about like there's going to times when things will get rough. Dude, I remember growing up in Eritrea, there were times where like I remember even though we lived in a safer neighborhood, I lived in a quieter, safer area for the most part. We went through shortages of water. I remember 2005, we had a drought. There were times when we went through blackouts for days. You imagine spending 3, 4 days without shit, and some of some of the houses who had refrigerators, they realized we got to cook all this food now and put it in certain containers so it doesn't go bad because the fridge is not working. I remember like schedule and because like when the oil prices shot up to like from $50 to $100 a barrel, and the power companies started listening on the net on the newspapers, there's going to be scheduled blackouts between this hour, between this time and this time in these specific neighborhoods on these specific days. Even when I was at work, sometimes we had to deal with the fact that there was no power. There was a power outage, shortage of food and stuff. I'm used to that stuff. I remember when I was trained in the military, just like we had to learn how to go on one meal a day. A lot of people do not understand it. Some people are just sensitive. I remember shout out. Oh, by the way, shout out to Edwin Anderson, who talks about like how some people are not ready to adapt to and are sensitive to certain changes. People are gonna panic. People are gonna panic. I remember watching you at like what they were going in Australia and also stateside, that by panicking for toilet paper. Over here, we didn't have this panic for toilet paper. It was hand sanitizer. Most people were panicking for. But just seeing how people were panicking, you cannot allow yourself to panic. And those of us who've been through PTSD trauma and shit like that, when we see people panicking like that, we're just like calm about it because like that we're used to that type. We're used to shit like this, so we know just immediately shut that off, so we can focus on what we need to do in order to get out of that situation. So you can't allow, and because we understand, like yeah, we deal with trauma. We've dealt with trauma before, and we're still dealing with it in certain ways. But in a situation where it's like where shit's about to get real, you automatically shut that off on instinct, just so you can focus on what you need to do to get through that particular situation and come out of there on the other side safe, or at least survive.
In America, there's only certain parts of the country where people are used to having to prepare. If you're down there in Florida, maybe some of the other Gulf states,
Mm-hmm.
you deal with hurricanes. Certain parts in the Midwest, you deal with tornadoes every year.
Earthquakes.
California has the earthquakes. Most of Americans,
Fires.
most of Americans are never prepared for shit because nothing's ever happened.
Mm-hmm. Like, remember the big freeze in Texas like 3 years ago?
Well, see, that's the thing about that is because Texas is so fucking hot, they build their houses differently.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that ice and shit made people roofs collapse, and their power grid just wasn't built for it. So that's like a freak of nature type thing.
That
So
along with the lack of investment and the bureaucracy that might have red tape that could have
oh yeah, it was a
all
whole
that
thing.
shit. It's
It
a
was a
whole
whole
lot of
thing.
shit because you've been in construction. My dad was in construction, and me understand how like the bullshit that goes with construction. Yeah, you got to keep that. You got to factor all those things.
But a
Not to
lot of
mention you don't
people,
have people. Yeah, but go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry, but a lot of people in America don't understand the importance of a flashlight, candles. I mean, everything is just so digital nowadays. I remember when I was a kid, it was nothing to see somebody had a car, they got maps, they got flashlights and shit. You don't see people do that nowadays. Your average person don't even have a jack. I'll just call AAA. I mean, everything is just built on convenience in America.
I'll just
And
call
this
tow
whole
truck.
thing
Why
of
do I have to
women,
repair? Why do I have to fix a tire?
there was a time when that was what a man, when your father taught you how to drive. Next up is I'll show you how to change the tire. I'll show you how to change your own oil.
Yeah, remember
You
how
don't even
to.
hear that shit anymore. Everything is built on convenience. So when you have women out here who really think, hey, I don't need a man, I'll be okay, nothing bad is ever going to happen, you're going to be in for a world of hurt one day when shit actually happens.
To your point, ABM, up here in Scandinavia, you have to have 2 sets of tires. You know that?
What do
Between
you mean 2
cars,
sets? Oh yeah, like
two,
snow tires?
you need to. It's obligatory that you need to have snow tires, and you better put those on. And you better have those installed on your car by mid-November, and then by mid-March, you have to replace them with your regular tires. Not that many. A lot of people own vehicles know they have to have those 2 sets of tires in their garage for when they need to make the changes and whatnot. I remember one of my neighbors who lived with me in the previous apartment I lived in. He had his snow tires stacked up in the hallway of our building. On his side, though.
Mm.
And then he would replace them when it was when the snow was all gone and everything. By the end of March, he would change his tires. But prior to November, he would put those things on because he knew, like, we don't know when the snow's coming, but I'd better have those on just in case. Because even if there's no snow, I got to worry about frost on the streets and whatnot. You know,
Mhm.
skidding.
Yeah.
Not that many people prepare for that type of shit. Hell, me, I've got I've got 3 dehumidifiers in my apartment. All right. I had 2, but I got to get a third one. One in my kitchen, one in my living room, and one in my bedroom. Because when it's wintertime, I got to worry about moisture condensation, moisture buildup on my windows. And that shit invites mold. So I got to get those dehumidifiers to suck out all the moisture out of the rooms. Not to mention, I got this window washer vac from Kasher. I use that to suck some off the wind, just to extract some of the moisture off the windows, especially around the edges and whatnot. Because I don't want to get mold in the apartment. In fact, one of the ones in my living room, I got, because, you know, sometimes I have a laundry rack, and I place it right next to the dehumidifier because that thing is built to, suck out moisture off laundry. And the fact that I understand this shit because, like, I asked around what I need to do to deal with this shit. They said you need to get this, and afterwards, I ended up doing research. I went to 4 or 5 different stores. I went onto the websites of various companies that make these things because I need to find the right one that works for me because I need to find the right tools. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You need to have the right tools, so the right tools for the job. So when I got the model that I needed, I got that, put that, and then everything's history. It's like when I bought my cell phone. I just didn't buy a cell phone just for the sake of a cell phone. It served a purpose. I've got 2 because one, just in case one of them goes down, I got something to back me up. Most people looked at me funny. I remember one of my boys, one of my one cat I got a good rapport with who works at one of the electronic store chains. He jokingly refers to my second phone as a burner phone, even though it's a smartphone. But that's a backup just in case, you people can't reach me on my first phone. And when I bought those phones, I didn't just buy the phones, because I bought them, got the cases to protect them, and thankfully they had pre-installed Gorilla Glass to cover the screen, so shit in case I drop them, nothing happens. Just nobody bothers to do the research or ask the 20 questions. I mean, AB, let me ask you something. AB, let me ask you something. When you were a kid, did your dad ever take you to an electronics store?
My dad, no. My grandfather did. Yeah.
Hmm. You ever watch you ever watch him like when he's talking with the salesman? Whether you guys are looking at a fridge or a TV or whatever.
Yep.
You learn some very important lessons there. How to communicate and how to have a good rapport with people, but also understand if the salesman's trying to bullshit it with you.
Yeah.
Hell. And this is not just fathers. I'm gonna give you some of my mom. I learned from my mom. I remember we used to go to like certain strip malls, to find clothing, right? But for clothes shopping. And she learned and I watched her haggle the prices. And always, and it makes it important to ask questions when you're talking to sales folks. How to haggle in certain cases. If you can't haggle in certain places, you can't haggle up here in Norway, but in certain countries, certain markets, you can haggle. But when I'm at a certain supermarket or a certain store or whatever, and I'm looking for something, I'm not afraid to ask and explain. I need this, that, and the other. I have specifics. I do my research online, ask around. Even when I go to a pharmacy, same thing. because they need to make sure I got the right thing, the right, whatever I need. That one specifically, that's for my needs and my needs only. And by the way, how many people have a first aid kit at home?
I have a little bullshit one, but yeah, that's on my list. I'm gonna get a major fucking. That's why I said I'm doing them classes. I'm gonna because school about to end for my kids. Soon as school over for the kids, I'm gonna take them courses. I'm gonna get me a really good fucking first aid kit, like one of them
I remember.
$400 ones. I'm gonna get one of the what they call it, the defibrillators.
Those defibrillators? You mean the clear?
Yeah, yep. I'm gonna get all that shit.
You need
I'm
to
gonna
get
take
those
the course.
defib-
All them courses on Red Cross website. They like $30-$35, and they got a course on the defibrillator, and I'm gonna buy
All
one.
right.
Matter of fact, they have it on the Red Cross website. You can buy them. You can buy them other places too, but the Red Cross got them for sale. First aid kits.
Amazon.
Depending on how much you want to spend. You want to spend $50, $100.
You know what my parents did to us? And this is when we were growing up in Saudi Arabia before moving back to Eritrea. I'm like 9, 10 years old. We decided to get a first aid kit, and one of the reasons that we got a first aid kit is because I remember watching with my parents that show Rescue 911 with William Shatner.
Yeah.
If anybody, you remember that show? I also remember watching on Saudi TV, Channel 2, which was the English version, and Channel 1 in Arabic. They would show German programs about first aid. And theirs was very comprehensive. Like they would teach you like what to do in certain situations. We're like out and about, or this situation, that scenario. They had like a whole series of that. And these were like programs from the late 80s, early 90s. My parents bought 2 first aid kits. One was going to be placed in my dad's car. The second one was in the house. Now, the one they brought in the house, my mother calls me and my younger brother. We were like, I was like, I'm a year older than him. So I was like 9, 10-ish, which means he would have been like 8, 9-ish. She looked at us. She said, come here. Opened this first aid box. Gave us the instruction book that said, read this. We'll talk about this later. We read that entire first aid kit and learned exactly what we needed to do for this type of for this, that, and next, and this, that, and the third type of emergency. What to do in case you're dealing with somebody who has a head injury or a neck injury. What to do in case someone gets electrocuted by a live wire. How to like form a human chain when you need to rescue somebody who's slipped who's went through thin ice and on a lake, on a frozen lake. Nobody's teaching anybody those cases or scenarios and how to protect themselves, do they? Oh, how many people remember the Incredible Crash Dummies?
You there?
Yeah, I'm still here. How many people remember like watching the Incredible Crash Dummy PSAs when you were kids?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I just know people. Your average person is just so unprepared for shit. I'm just sitting around thinking one day, like, nah, I got to get fucking prepared.
Shit.
Like just having a couple guns ain't enough.
It's not just that. I remember like in my case, I remember when my youngest brother was born. He's the baby of the house. We had to make sure he couldn't get any access to any electrical sockets. And in the apartment we lived in, we had like like American style electrical sockets. Well, actually, they were like multi-purpose, multi-adaptable ones. But my dad couldn't. But he knew that you just couldn't put like.
Hey, I mean, but I'm about to bow out. I am I'm feeling it. I ate and the itis is calling me.
Oh yeah, I know that eyes will kick in.
I will catch y'all later.
Don't forget to brush your teeth
All right, babe.
beforehand.
All right.
Stay safe.
Peace.
Yeah. But I remember it was like, to all the electrical sockets, they were like knee high. They're like, my father would put, not just plastic covering over it. He put over electrical tape because he knew eventually this little motherfucker would, little boy is eventually gonna figure out how to pull those, protective cases over those electrical sockets. So it's better just to tape them over. And it was like one of those electrical tapes that was metallic on one end, so it like looked reflective. So you just look at it and just leave it alone. And baby proofing in our houses is something that some people don't even take seriously nowadays. Not like that. Not like before. I mean, how many people even know how to work a fire extinguisher?
I'm at.
Hmm?
Real talk, yeah.
I mean, how many people learn
Sounds
how?
simple enough, but when you in the heat of the moment
Uh-huh.
and you panicking and you think you're just gonna grab that shit for the first time, yeah, you probably don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Unless you learn how to use it. Hell, I mean, I remember I'm glad I watched certain PSAs and they said, like, in certain cases you can't use an electric, when you like say you're cooking a stove and something catches fire, you gotta learn how to put the lid over it.
Yeah,
Especially if it's a grease fire, or just use the fire extinguisher.
gotta know what you're doing. It's depending on what type of fire it is. It's an electrical
Fire,
fire,
yeah. Yeah, if it's
chemical
electrical fire,
fire.
grease fire, chemical fire, you got to know what it
Yeah.
is. And ethanol fire, you got that's why certain
And
shows are
it's
very
crazy
important.
because you have the internet nowadays and nobody gives a shit.
You know what? My dog said it best. You know what he told me? One of my boys told me this. He said, especially when I told him the situation, I said, dude, you realize I feel like I'm just like talking to a wall when I talk to some of these cats up here, because I do the research and I like to learn and do this and that. You know what he said to me? He said, fam, cats like you and me, we're seekers of knowledge. Some people, they just don't get it. I understand that my dog is like myself, is an Eritrean, and my frustration was like having conversations with people outside of our ethnicity, outside of our race or ethnicity or nationality. And some of them I don't think are that well prepared at times. I mean, there were a couple of times where I've had to, like, I remember just growing up where I grew up, places where I grew up, I realized I had to be more cautious, more self-aware of my surroundings. But how many people know when to, like, when to read a room and just walk away? Like, if there's certain situations that, like, you should not be there, don't go there.
My 9th grade teacher said, trust your first instinct.
In certain cases, like if you're in a room, you're in a room full of people and something's about to go off, don't be dumb enough to go in there. Just get up out of there. I mean, there's certain spots you shouldn't hang out in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean,
Charles, you good or you sleep, bro?
I think he's taking care of the cat. I think he's dealing with the cat.
I am great. I just like to give anybody else a chance. But I'm going to shut it down, folks. So, hey, till next time, thank you, ABM, Bay, Jay Moore, Naima.
Thank you.
Peace.